Hello and welcome to Dub Talk Idol. I'm your judge for tonight's Jets, and before we start tonight's auditions, let's go over the rules for our contestants. Number 1. Dub Talk Idol may contain language and content not suitable for younger audiences. We don't do clean versions on this show, so viewer discretion is advised. Second, tonight's episode will contain spoilers for all of Carole and Tuesday and may contain spoilers for other anime series, so be careful if you haven't finished them. And thirdly, the views and opinions expressed by the individual judges tonight do not reflect those of Dub Talk Idol as a whole. Alright then, sir, you can introduce yourself and start singing.
Hello, I'm Otaku McWeberson from California, and I've got the perfect number for tonight. I will be your dead man, with nothing but this blood on my hand.
Stop. Atrocious. That sounded worse than a dying fart. This is why anime is a mistake. Screw this, I'm out. Hello, and welcome to Dub Talk, where a group of nerds come together to talk about their terrible taste in music, and even worse taste in dubs. Just complete garbage, really. Anyway, I am Jet Cowell, and I'm joined tonight by Jackson.
Yes, I'm just here to have a good time, listen to some good music. I hope.
And Noah Abdul.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here. I am here on Mars, and I just think that you two right now are the cutest things ever. This is gonna be so amazing. When did I get a gender change?
Oh, thank you, baby.
And,
Let me tell you, that show ruled some people's lives way more than it should have back in, what was it, like 2004, 2005. That brought back all kinds of memories. Thank you for that, Jet.
Yeah, my grade school had a betting pool going.
Anyway, we're here tonight to critique two artists by the names of Carole and Tuesday. So, if you're not familiar with these girls, here's the gist of it. 50 years have passed since mankind began migrating to the new frontier, Mars. It's an age where most culture is produced by AI, and people are content to be passive consumers. There is a girl scraping a living in the metropolis of Alba City. She is working a part-time job while trying to become a musician. She's always felt like something is missing. Her name is Carole. There's another girl. Born to a wealthy family in the provincial town of Herschel City, she dreams of becoming a musician, but nobody around her understands. She feels like the loneliest person in the world. Her name is Tuesday. A chance meeting brings them together. So, honestly, it all sort of sounds like a bit of rubbish, but the label is under Studio Bones, and they got produced by Motonobu Hori and Shinichiro Watanabe. If those names sound familiar to you, it's because Motonobu Hori is the director behind the Beck anime, and Watanabe has directed such hits as Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy, and the hit single Cowboy Bebop. Okay, alright, I think I'm done with this whole stick. Yeah. I got at least a few good minutes out of it.
Yeah. And would you believe they got together for Bones' 20th anniversary to make this?
Good on them. Pretty excellent choice given Watanabe's taste in music.
It is. Like, can you? I don't know what you guys did for your 20th birthday, but mine was nowhere near cool enough to get an anime base to celebrate around it. So good on Bones for sticking around that long.
Yeah.
It may have just been drinking in my dorm room. I don't remember that night.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there was drinking going on here too. There's a lot going on in this series. I'm surprised to everyone. Yes, this is another Shinichiro Watanabe series set in outer space with music in it. What are the odds?
He has a particular brand. He is very good at that brand, and he sits with it.
That he is. And I'm glad you shouted out, I can never pronounce his name correctly, Hiro, that guy, the one on screen there, because, and Jackson remembers this too, we had a fun little episode on the Beck anime about a year ago, and I think we're going to rehash some of the same talking points that we did in this series that we did in that one.
Yeah, somehow I'm on a musical-based episode again. I don't... Thankfully, you guys haven't been able to judge my musical taste thus far.
Don't worry. Don't worry, you'll get to spend plenty of time judging mine because I know next to nothing about music.
No. Here's how we're going to judge both of your musical tastes. Is that you're going to go to YouTube and we're going to look at the automated mixtape that it makes up. You know, the one that collects all of the music videos that you've watched the most, and that's how we're going to judge your music taste. Like, I'm going to do the same thing for myself right now. What pops up?
Alternatively, you could just say whatever your favorite song is in this show, and that'll be a pretty good indication.
Do you have a favorite song?
Honestly, almost all the Angela songs are really good. The final song at the end is really good.
I love that. Yeah.
I do just love a good scream from your soul, about the oppression of society, or just screaming fucking bullshit.
Since we're not going to get to talk about those characters, fun story. I was watching this show down in the basement of our house, and I thought I was all alone, and I was, because everyone was watching something else. But suddenly, everyone started gravitating downstairs just as the episode with the music competition was starting, and I didn't know this was coming. I had no idea. All of a sudden, the Mermaid Sisters show up, and what do I start hearing? Fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit. And Jennifer looks at me, the kids start looking at me like, what are you watching? I thought I was alone. It's not my fault.
And Noah slept on the couch that night.
That he did. In fact, he's still sleeping on the couch. So I hope you people watching this appreciate this.
Well, you have a whole barbershop quartet there to keep you company.
I thought they were good. They should have won it all. Carole and Tuesday are fine. They're like B tier at best. Those four should have won.
Mermaid Sisters got robbed, you're saying?
Absolutely. I stand Mermaid Sisters. Acapella's underrated. Yeah. I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with why we're here tonight.
So the three of us are here to talk about this show because we all happen to share a birthday in August, so... Yeah. We decided to do this as a kind of combined birthday episode, so happy birthday, fellas.
Yeah, about 2 months ago, I slid into your DMs and said, we should do a thing. We should all get together and have a party.
And this is that party?
Yeah, sing about it.
With robots and antidepressant medications.
But not too many. Just enough. Just what the doctor prescribes, everyone.
Mm-hmm. So, since this is the Dub Talk podcast, right? So I'm assuming we're going to be talking about the English dub of the show?
Yep. And as always, you cannot have a dub without ADR staff, so we'll start this one off by giving our general thoughts on the voice-directed and adapted script for this dub. So for the first half of the show, the dub's ADR director was one Erica Mendez, who has directed dubs for such anime as Irregular Magic High School, Visitor Arc, Magia Record, and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. And the back half of the dub was directed by Kyle McCarley, who was in voice direction on such shows as Great Pretender and Vampire in the Garden. Both also served as the scriptwriters for the dub, and Erica Mendez has been dub scripts for shows like Fate Apocrypha, Little Woods Academia, and Persona 5 the Animation, while Kyle McCarley has done dub scripts on such anime as Deer King, Super Crooks, and the Netflix dub of Vinland Saga. So,
is it sad that you mentioned a bunch of anime there, and I have seen literally none of them?
Don't feel too bad. There is a lot of anime out there.
There's too much anime.
Yeah. Before we dig too deep into this, I do want to take the time to talk about something important.
Is it time? Is it time already?
The floor is yours.
I wanted to get this out of the way.
All right.
I wanted to talk about some of the casting in this dub. Mainly Carole and Angela, who are two black characters being played by non-black voice actresses. This isn't a conversation I particularly want to have, and I know certain types of people get mad if you bring this sort of thing up, and frankly they can shove it, but it's important to bring up for a couple of reasons. First, being that it's honestly pretty ridiculous and frankly inexcusable especially for a dub that came out in 2019. I know this does sort of predate the larger conversation people started having about casting more authentically when it comes to voice acting, but that's still nowhere close to being an excuse here. And I can probably guarantee you pretty much any other recording studio that regularly does anime wouldn't have made this call, so it's kind of baffling a studio that's been around as long as Bang would do this. And it's not even a matter of not having any black voice actresses on their regular casting pool for auditions, because a few of them are actually in this dub playing other characters, so it just looks weirder that the attempt wasn't made for whatever reason. And I mean, even if they didn't want to hire one of them, it also could have been a pretty cool opportunity for some other black voice actresses to get a big break, and it kind of sucks that this apparently wasn't taken into consideration at all. And also, just like being real, I also gotta say, as a black person myself, I mean, I've kind of learned to roll with the reality that anime isn't always best at depicting people like me, so it kind of sucks that, when we do get a series that actually put in that effort and even centers around two black characters, it kind of sucks that consideration didn't translate completely into the dub. And secondly, even if you're the person who does not care about this sort of thing literally at all, in which case I don't know why you'd be watching this show.
Why are you here?
This show is probably not for you. But even if you are the kind of person who does not care about this sort of thing at all, it's still a pretty bad look, because this is literally a show about the importance of diversity. And no, I'm not exaggerating about this in any way when I say this. It is literally a part of the show's themes. Like, it's literally about immigrants and how, like, the marginalized are just kind of trying to make their way in the world. The villains are literally a couple of evil billionaires trying to deport immigrants so they can have knowledge on the planet. And, the deportation squad is literally a breathing advice. Like, the show is not subtle about who it's criticizing.
No, it does not. It is right up there with Pro Mare's. We're going to have. I forget what the name they gave, but it was also almost
The Freezer Force.
Yeah, the Freeze Force.
Thank you for the anti-immigrant police in that movie as well.
To literally use ice. Yep.
Yeah, and heck, even the sequel for Carole, Br.XX, I hope I didn't butcher that, is also black, so I guarantee you she would have been hired if Watanabe Hori didn't care, at least a little bit about diversity and authenticity, so again, it kind of sucks this wasn't completely carried over to the dub. To be clear, I'm not faulting either of the actors here. I thought they did a pretty good job given the circumstances, and I know voice acting for anime isn't exactly high-paying work, so I'm not going to blame anyone for, trying to put food on the table. I'm also not blaming any of the ADR directors here, because from everything I've been told over the years, ADR directors at Bang have very little or no say at all about casting anyway. Who I would lay blame on here in this case would be the casting director, Mami Okada, who is the regular casting director at Bang Zoom. And while I've heard, some not great things about her secondhand over the years, I don't know her, and I don't want to sit here and actively demonize her over her choices. I'm just a fan, not a casting director, and I don't know much about anything about what goes into these kinds of decisions. But regardless of why she made this particular call, I don't think it was a very good one, and it's just honestly kind of disappointing. And to her credit, I do think she has gotten better about this sort of thing over the years, and with the current landscape of English subs for anime being what they are, Bang Zoom is currently one of the studios that's actually casting the widest net when it comes to anime these days. But even so, it still doesn't change the fact that there were problems with how this show was casted. Well, I do generally like this show, but I think I could, discuss it in good faith without breaking this up. And I think it's important to have these kind of conversations because, regardless of what some people might tell you, acknowledging that diversity is important can usually lead to a better end project. And also, on that note, while I know I zeroed in on Carole and Angela for this particular conversation, I do also want to note that this show does have a lot of queer rap, and while not all of it is particularly great, I do also think it would have been good to have more queer actors in the dub for those characters besides maybe Allegra Clark as Gus's ex, who did a pretty good job there. And that's also another point I'd maybe knock off the dub. But, yeah, that's more or less it for my soapboxing. Sorry if it went a little long, and I promise the rest of the episodes will be pretty fun, but I need to get that out of the way before we talk about anything else.
Yeah, it's good to address that now, because that anyone who knows anything about this series probably is aware of that controversy, and it's good to address that up front. It's the same reason why we devoted a section of the Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid episode to like discuss that controversy, and like, okay, we're done with that. Let's move on to talking about stuff that's not that.
Yeah, like this was a pain point for that discussion in particular, and it really did like start this conversation and start making change, because people did make noise about it and did get upset, and then we held Bang Zoom's feet to the fire, and change was actually enacted later down the line, so they're not making these same mistakes as often, which is why it's important to have these conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah, you mentioned, Jet, that discussions weren't quite as heated in 2019 as they are now. It was definitely this show that kind of helped spark that discussion. So
not this show particularly, but I do remember it was a pretty big talking point.
Right. It's good that if this was cast now in 2022 and they decided to dub it now, they would probably take that. I almost guarantee they would take that into consideration.
Yeah. I was prepared to make the devil's advocate defense that they're trying to match the voices, because part of the dub is that all the singing is originally in English. They had guest singers and guest artists provide the vocals for all the music. But that's not really the case. It's not really a voice match to the music.
Yeah, I mean, at best I could see it being a case of trying to voice match to the Seiyu, but, even then, again, I know I, vaguely alluded to this, but, there are black voice actors in this dub, some who I know have a similar vocal register to the actresses playing Carole and Angela, so I know they probably could have played those characters, but again, absolutely. I'm not a casting director. I do not know why the choice was made. I just don't think it was a particularly good one in this case.
Yeah, and of course, this is a very diverse work in general. Of course, a lot of Watanabe's work has been like this, even when he's just a music producer on Michiko and Hachin. If I'm not being a liar, this is a consistent theme for him as well.
Oh yeah, he has been very upfront about how he feels about that.
So it definitely misses the mark not incorporating that same worldly view into the English dub.
Which is very sad, considering that Japan is a lot more homogenous racial-wise than America is, and the show is very clearly trying to emulate the appeal of American music, or at the very least Western music, because you've got all of the song titles, all of the episodes are named after, what are they named after?
Record
songs
labels.
From the English-speaking world, right? And some of it's from Britain, a lot of it's from America, and so it's definitely the intent was to make the cast and the music as diverse as the countries that it's emulating. So yeah, it is a shame that mark got missed when it came to the casting side of things.
Yeah. I guess moving slightly away from that conversation, I do want to say that, as far as the actual voice direction here goes, I do think that Eric and Kyle both did a pretty good job here. This is a very solid sounding dub on the whole. Everyone sounds pretty well directed. Performances are really solid. There's no one I would aside from the cast of complaints, there's no performances here I would really actively complain about.
Mm-hmm. No. I will pick on one more casting thing that's much more petty. What was the Keith Silverstein score for this dub? Because I counted 10 bit parts that were Keith.
Okay, to be fair, he's literally in everything. It's if you need someone to play bit characters in a Cowie dub, you just call up Keith Silverstein.
Yeah.
Jack
I don't want to pick on him hard, but he's very easy to pick out of a crowd, and he was popping up a lot.
So it's like in American cartoons, when you're just listening for the Tom Kenny background character roles, and he's there he is, all over the place. Take a shot every time you hear Tom Kenny. It's the same thing in this dub with Keith Silverstein.
It's a real Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I think to counter that a little bit, in looking at the cast that we're going to talk about here, none of the main speaking characters are double cast. There's no one that I can see here who has, is covering 2 or more named characters. Everybody got their own voice actor.
Not much at least.
Yep. It tends to be the case with union dues, right? You work so many guaranteed hours, you need to record a bunch of parts to fill those in. It just happens.
Yep.
And oh god, do we have a lot of characters in this whole thing?
Yeah.
It's a 2-core treat, people.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think direction is solid, and script is also pretty fun. Admittedly, there were a couple of points where I felt like maybe it could be, like, a little punchier, just, given the nature of the show, but it had enough fun with the dialogue that I, never had too many complaints about that. And there were some pretty, fun one-liners sprinkled throughout it. Especially just everything Toby says.
Shit might be my favorite curse word. It's very versatile.
They definitely reserved the more colorful language for the older crotchety characters. Everybody else seems to have a very similar vocabulary. There's everyone is kind of just nice speaking patterns. Not a whole lot of forgive the pun, color in a lot of their languages, and it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of localization that needed to be done in turning this into English, because there's not a whole lot of plot points that need to be adapted in a way that make it easy to understand. And the world, because this takes place on Mars, this takes place in the future on Mars, there's a lot of technology, but the characters don't spend a whole lot of time describing it. There's maybe a little bit with Dow where he has to describe what he's doing to try to help Angela's performance, but aside from that, we don't hear a whole lot of descriptions about the robots that repossess the house, or the delivery drones, or the camera bots, or basically all the billion other robots that are scattered around this world.
Yeah, there isn't much technobabble in this. It's all just kind of magic.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want the explanation, you could probably just watch Cowboy Bebop, because I'm pretty sure this takes place in the same universe.
More than likely. They definitely cribbed the same holodome, everyone's living on Mars, to the point that when they break the weather machine, the temperature starts to go down, because, hey, in real life, Mars is freezing cold.
Yeah, and I mean, and it also has the same currency, so, yeah.
Wulongs!
Yep. The nice Wulong trilogy, where Space Dandy is the far future. I don't know if it quite lines up timeline-wise. This future is way too clean to be related to the Cowboy Bebop future.
Okay, I mean, it's clean if you have money. If you don't,
yeah. If you live in Mars, New York City.
Yeah, because it feels like this is the soon after that Lunar Gate explosion happened, because they haven't really talked about populating other planets, and there's I think they celebrate a new year in the show, and it's we've been on this planet for 50 years now, or something like that.
Yep.
So a little before the timeline of Cowboy Bebop, if you want to get pedantic about it.
Earth is consistently a shithole. That's true.
That is true.
You think that was commentary?
It did take me a while to realize that the moon in the sky is actually the Earth in the night sky.
Bugged me. That bugged the hell out of me. Because the Earth is not that big from Mars's perspective. It's the same way that Mars is not that big in our night sky. It shouldn't look like a moon.
Just to tell you what kind of sci-fi series this is.
I guess so. I mean, I was expecting shout-outs to the actual moons of Mars, but nope, we can't have that. We gotta make Earth look like it's way closer than it really is.
Yeah.
But
I did want to mention one thing with the writing before we move off of them. There's a lot of manipulative characters in this dub, and the writing is getting real good at zeroing in on the language that they use to get what they want, which I thought was really well executed. So I want to shout that out, particularly in the first half of the series.
Yeah, I agree. That was pretty well done.
did it bother you that the manipulative characters, that their voices were not made, I suppose, more maniacal sounding than they could have?
No, especially given who some of those characters are, I think, I think they worked enough to make them sound, I guess,
Yeah.
as realistic as you could.
Yeah. I'm not relying on the voice in those scenarios to convey intention like that. I don't
Good.
think. They're trying to hide their intentions. So
Right.
if it doesn't
There
come
we go.
across like that, that's what I mean.
Yeah. There's there's some characters in Cowboy Bebop, not to go back to that show over and over, but where the evilness was like ramped up a lot more as a much more cartoony universe. This is a show that feels like they're definitely aiming for a more grounded reality.
The most cartoony sounding characters in this are probably the ones who are the most explicitly evil and also guts, I guess.
The Mermaid Sisters are pretty cartoony.
Yeah, I was gonna say the ones who are like the most camp are the ones who get to be the most over the top acting.
Yeah. We do get some good faces off of Carole and Tuesday themselves.
This is true.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the like animation is very realism focused, practically rotoscoped. Noah, you'd be the expert here, but the like musical performances are pretty true to life, kind of in how they move. Like the drawings kind of mishmash around the screen because it looks like they're trying to match like the 3D elements to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they're rotoscoped. I'm pretty sure those stage performances are they're 3D renderings because the movements and the frame count goes up way higher, and you can see like the slight stiffness that comes when you have characters on a rig that is separate from the non-musical performances where you get those crazy facial expressions. But that's kind of a common trope in most anime these days. If you watch anything that has an idol performance, a stage performance, a band performance, even going back to Beck, when they have to animate the stage performances, they tend to use CG or 3D to keep the realism element as much as they can.
I really only spot it when they're like interfacing with the instruments themselves, like Carole playing the piano. Like that's the only spot I'm really like noticing the 3D rig. I think the rest of it is like a good illusion of 2D animation.
They blend the two.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it was. I mean, this is still Bode we're talking about.
Yeah.
That it is.
I couldn't get out of this without talking about the visual elements. Excuse me for going off on that tangent.
No, it's cool. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Noah?
As far as the script writing and the acting, I'm going to have a surprisingly short amount of notes on the individual actors because everyone is consistently good throughout all of this. Both Erica and Kyle seem to grasp the grounded in reality aspect that is necessary for this kind of a show because it is both a rise to the top musician story, which we've all heard and enjoyed before, but it's also got a lot of commentary on the current political climate. I say current because even though this was made back in the late 2010s, we're still dealing with a lot of those elements today. So, yeah, the more over-the-top aspect and the way that it's directed is meant to make you almost forget that you're even watching a dubbed performance or an animated series of any kind, which I think they succeeded at. There are many times where I'm watching animation mode just kind of turned off and you just enjoy the audio as you would any performance.
Excellent.
So that's there's a lot of characters in this whole thing, aren't there?
Yeah. So we should probably get to them. So for the first batch of characters, I need to ask: are you ready for American Idol? Oh wait, no. This is called Mars Brightest. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
There's no copyright on the moon!
Are we going to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism? Mars!
We can do what we want.
Somewhere in the universe, Tim Curry is crying right now. And so anyway, you can't have a fake American Idol without some competitors and judges. So let's run them down. We've got Piotr, a social media star who wants to become a singer and make himself even more popular. Which, next to the discrimination against immigrants, the next most impressive thing about this series is the implication that Instagram will be the one social media platform to endure through the space age frontier.
Yeah, that's the only one that gets dropped, like their logo gets dropped. No TikTok, no YouTube, it's all just Instagram.
We have truly failed as a species.
That was well before this show.
There's an in-canon Instagram account for Carole and Tuesday you could follow right now.
Yeah. So continuing, we also have Cybele, a singer who is very interested in Tuesday and a bit too aggressive about it. Yeah. There's also GGK, a singer who believes she's one with the universe. Catherine, our Simon Cowell stand-in, because, you can't not have one of those in these kind of shows. You need a judge to be a heel. And then there's Benito, who serves as a very nice judge. And Shakti, who is an AI robot dog who got brought on as a guest judge because, literally, why not?
Hey, you telling me right now that if there was a robot dog guest starring on The Voice, that you wouldn't tune into that right away?
Oh, absolutely.
I rest my case.
What's The Voice?
You tell me.
Oh,
I don't watch TV.
But, no, that's good. That's good. Okay, actually, Jet, we're not going to tell Jackson. We're going to allow him to live in a world where he doesn't need to know about that, because that's a happier world than what you and I live in.
So anyway, playing Piotr, we have Eric Kimmer. Playing Cybele is Laura Stahl. Playing GGK is Mel Lee. Playing Catherine is Roberta Lemons. Playing Benito is Doug Gerholtz. And playing Shakti is David Vincent. Eric Kimmer has played such characters as Haruki Arita in Excel World, Ryu Takise in Kuroko's Basketball, and Speed of Sound Sonic in One Punch Man. Laura Stahl has played such characters as Ray in The Promised Neverland, Sister in Akadama Drive, and Dorothy in The Great Pretender. Mel Lee has played such characters as Erika Karasawa in Durarara, Yuki Cross in Vampire Knight, and Rentone Saka from most of the Fate franchise. Doug Gerholtz has played such characters as Asuma Saratobi in Naruto, Jean-Pierre Polnareff in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, and Inspector Zenigata for most modern iterations of the Loop on the Third franchise.
Yes.
David Vincent has played such characters as Vaughn of the Dawn in Gun Sword, Grim Zhao in Bleach, and Skonosuke Oda in Bungo Stray Dogs. As for Roberta Lemons, Catherine is the only character credited to her name, but I'm pretty sure this is an alias. Normally we try to honor aliases on this show, unless it's a much older title we're dealing with. But in this case, I am pretty confident the actor in question was the late Felice Sampler, and with how prolific she was, I kind of want to give credit where it's due, or was it in this case, I guess. So, yeah.
Can't well get them in trouble with the union now.
Yeah.
That's
So I feel like we could probably get the judges out of the way first.
Why do you call them bad JoJos? They're not all bad. Well, one of them is very bad. Very bad. Sybil is a bad person. And honestly, Laura seems to be having the most fun with that character.
Yeah, Sybil is a very bad person. Also, again, like, not a great stereotype, but yeah.
So, long story short, stalkers are not welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you got an unhealthy obsession with a celebrity, musician, a YouTuber person, go touch some grass, because they don't want to be your friend. You're not entitled to their friendship. Don't do what this girl does.
Yeah, it kind of felt like Sybil was there because they really wanted Carole and Tuesday to, I guess, like, have some kind of falling out, but didn't want to be, like, super melodramatic about it, so I guess that's what Sybil was there for. And I mean, in that respect, she, like, does the job. It's just kind of like, yeah, the stereotype is kind of a little annoying. But for what it's worth, I do think Laura Saul did like a good job with the performance, like sounding, appropriately like obsessive and clingy in a way that is kind of like unsettling. So I think in that respect it worked pretty well. And also, while Sybil is like a not good person, I do sort of appreciate the gimmick of her like singing in French. I thought that was like pretty amusing.
But I think she was also trying to go for a believably androgynous voice, which I'm not sure if that was one of the LGBT elements that Watanabe was trying to include into the show, but it definitely helped set the range of female characters that we had, because none of the other female characters are really, androgynous. They're either, explicitly female or non-binary.
Yeah, basically.
We have other better lesbians in this show to stan.
Oh, we will get to them. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
But
That hair.
this is also a part of representation. You can let them be baddies as well.
God, you have to use that term, baddies.
Yeah, that's been forever ruined by certain people.
Did you hear about this, Jackson?
When
About the word baddies being co-opted?
Oh, was this? Oh, I do know what this story is now. This was
Yes.
drama I tried to ignore.
Yeah, and we won't get into the details, but long story short, some people on the internet, have started to use the word baddies as a term for, like, hot girls. Not the way that it's supposed to be used, but that term. So, yeah, I can't... That word's going to take a little getting used to for me to hear it with fresh ears
They
again.
can't have it. They can't have it.
They can't have it.
It has been around. I mean, that term has been around in that way for like quite a while, but it is kind of annoying for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, the joke I was going to make is you can't just bite things to claim them as your own.
You
yeah.
can't?
No.
Yeah.
Noah, do you have some explaining to do?
Well, that's how Jen got me. I assume that's how all girls get their prey.
Yeah.
You might want to check that marriage certificate.
Yeah. Moving on. I also liked Bella Lee as a G2K. She didn't like speak a whole lot, but I thought she did a good job of making this character sound like very ethereal in a fake kind of way, which I guess sort of adds to the gimmick. And I also thought the G2K had like a couple of. I thought her songs were pretty good.
Yeah, I've never heard Mela do that kind of voice before. That like this very low, commanding, ethereal voice. I've never heard her do that before.
In tune with the universe.
Yeah, to be fair, I've never seen a character like this in anything before. So, unique character calls for unique voice.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that. That while it wasn't like they didn't go too deep into it, her character did sort of add to the whole like greater story about like immigrants kind of kind of trying to find their way on Mars, because he was also in a like similar situation before she got into competition, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. At this point, they're still being a little bit subtle, so they're sprinkling in characters like GGK to show other walks of life. You need some variety in the contestants, especially even at the semifinals.
Yep, and then we have Eric Kimmer as Piotr, who is just clearly having a lot of fun playing this character.
So much.
He is so so fey. No, that's not the word. It's camp. He's very camp.
Yeah. It's reminding me of like boy band or like male idol kind of.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
What I appreciate is that it would be very easy to make this character be like extremely mean, but like while he is pretty full of himself and like a little obnoxious, he's like never particularly antagonistic in any way towards like Carole and Tuesday or anyone else really. He's just kind of like doing his own thing, and I thought that was like pretty interesting.
Yeah.
He's just here for attention, and he's getting lots of it, so he's happy.
I'm very intrigued that the staff who made this show are on the older side. I think that's fair to say, but they definitely retained the the modern generation, and this goes for us too, even though we're a little older. Love attention. The entire internet culture is about gaining attention and the approval of others. So I'm glad that they embodied that in this character, because that's not really what Carole and Tuesday are all about. So it had to go to a different character.
Yeah. Even Catherine was won over. Pow, pow.
But question, did any of you guys think that it was going to be a twist that Catherine was Pyotr's mother?
No.
Can't say it. Can't say I did.
Yeah, I can't
Okay.
say that either.
All right. There was like some body language and the way that their characters were designed that made me think like this is going to be like one of those twist reveals that that he's her son or something at the end. But I was thinking too hard about it.
Yeah. Switching over to the judges, I thought Dogger Holt and David Vincent did like a pretty good job as like Benito and Shakti over here. Like Dogger Holt's like playing the very, very nice one and like doing a good job of sounding very, very over the top nice in a way that is also kind of a little annoying, and it was very well done.
Yeah, very, very true to the inspiration.
Very true. And then David Vincent just being a very chill AI robot dog with like some really good one-liners about like, oh, you know, like what would I know about having a soul?
Yeah, he introduces himself as, I am going to judge your performance as a robot would. And then when all Carole and Tuesday are explaining that we wanted to inject soul into our music, all David's got to say is, I thought it was really good. I thought there was a lot of soul. But what would I know about having a soul? Cue laugh track.
Catchphrase. It inputs, push a button, out comes the catchphrase, was a lot of that character, I think.
Yeah.
And almost the same is true for Catherine a little bit, because she's saying every single time, oh, this was a real hard decision. This was the most difficult decision yet.
That's showmanship. You know, that in television, you got to build up the suspense. If you think it's one-sided, one person's definitely going to win, no one's going to watch it. You got to make people think that it was a tough choice.
And to her credit, she did, because she did give the impression of somebody who does, like, take her job very seriously. I thought that was reflected in Roberta's performance here.
Television scripting, that is kind of the sensation I was getting from this stretch of the show. That makes sense.
I do also appreciate that since she was the like most prominent of the three judges here, you do kind of see her a little bit past this arc, like particularly when it comes to Carole and Tuesday trying to get their first contract, and her like I guess not trying to actively screw them over, but you know, kind of being like, oh well, you know, you've got to like understand that like record labels get to have control, and that's just business.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that like Roberta got that across pretty well.
She also got the hard-nosed, you're late, and the rules dictate that you should be disqualified, and, you know, she's not budging from that, but it's not in a mean, vindictive way. It's in the very much like, if I bend the rules for you, I have to bend it for everyone, and then it's anarchy.
Yeah. But this is a 90s feel-good movie, so I'm going to bend the rules this time.
It's kind of what it started out as.
To be fair, that actually was a good song. That is like next to Mother. That is probably my like favorite song from Carole and Tuesday in particular. Their first one.
If we are having this discussion, it's the opening, "Kiss Me" for me.
Kiss Me is also good. I didn't really care for the second OP that much. That is probably the worst song from those two, I feel.
It's not bad, but I feel like it's the most forgettable.
It's not bad. It's just kind of like, it's very kind of forgettable pop compared to all the other songs.
Yeah, if we want to talk about the music for just a second, or for the insert song specifically, I didn't really feel there were any bad songs. There were just some that were a little more forgettable than others.
Yeah. I found a lot of it like easy listening, like we mentioned that it's appealing to American taste, particularly. Like, I could believe this playlist filling out a top 40 quite, like, across the entire repertoire of the show.
Yeah.
In this day and age?
Maybe not this day and age, but it is like it is like a nostalgic feeling for a lot of these songs. Like, I would put this on and go for a drive type of sound. just listening to the radio.
But the ultimate question, Jackson, is it better than the Beck Mongolian Chop Squad soundtrack?
No, and I'm gonna try to describe why. I learned this concept, or I'm stealing this concept from a different podcast of the variety of songs that you can broadly drop into three categories of ballads, belters, and what was the third one?
Badass?
Bangers. So there are a lot of ballads in this show.
Yes.
Not a lot of bangers. The occasional bop, and the occasional belter, but not really. It's a lot of ballads of just like easy listening guitar solos and acoustic solos. So I was appreciating a lot of the variety across that otherwise. So like Carole and Tuesday aren't my favorite musicians in this. I probably liked a character we'll talk about later a lot more.
I don't feel like that's a controversial statement because it's definitely not for everyone, and I don't feel like their kind of music is the kind that we in this day and age would choose to listen to on loop. It's definitely good for like like you've heard the Fleetwood Mac album Rumors, right?
I must have. I don't know it by name, but I'm sure if you played 3 notes from it.
Oh, it's the one with all the hit songs on it. It's got Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow, Go Your Own Way, and in the middle of that great album is the song Songbird, which is like a slow, soft, cool song that kind of is the closest to the Carole and Tuesday sound to it. So like I'm imagining if you had an album that was all songbirds and there were no secondhand news or any of their songs in there, then it wouldn't be as big of a bop, because you're right, you need bops and bangers as much as you need ballads.
Yeah. So we get to move on to the next section.
Yep. Let's leave American Idol behind.
Tangent,
all right.
Tangent over.
Yep. So now that we talked about the wannabes, it's time to move on to the big musicians in this show. So we've got Skip Collins, Crystal, Desmond, Flora, Ezekiel, and Johnny Erdogan. So Skip is a popular singer who's acquainted with Crystal. Crystal is another popular singer who Carole and Tuesday both look up to. Desmond is a reclusive, non-binary singer who has generally cut themselves off from the world. Flora is a singer who Carole idolized as a child and was also Augustus' former partner. Ezekiel is a popular rapper who was later revealed to be Carole's childhood friend Amir, who immigrated to Mars like she did, but has also gone through harder times. And lastly, Erdogan is the most popular DJ on Mars, who is extremely full of himself and holds a bit of a grudge against Carole and Tuesday when they started the fire at his house after he did some songs.
You know what? Fair. You know what? That's a reasonable grudge to hold.
By the way,
he was also really mean, but like they didn't start the fire at his house.
But by the way, Jet, you didn't introduce him correctly. You don't just introduce him as Johnny Ettergun. You gotta go, DJ Ettergun!
He enters the stage by going, "Gone, gone, the form of man, become the DJ Ettergun."
There you go. We the best music!
So playing Skip, we have Amari Williams. For Crystal, we have Christina Valenzuela. For Desmond, we have Patrick Seitz. For Flora, we have Rebecca Thomas. Playing Ezekiel was Zena Robinson. And lastly, Erdogan is played by Ray Chase. Amari Williams has played such characters as Lev Aldridge in '86, Zod in Berserk 2017, and the Whole Horse in Joseph Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. Christina Valenzuela has played such characters as Hobra in the Paula Magi Madoka Magica franchise, Ko Zoldyck in Hunter 2011, and Louise in A Familiar of Zero. Patrick Seitz has played such characters as Luke Valentine in Hellsing Ultimate, Mao in Jormungand and Luxus in Fairy Tail. Rebecca Thomas has played such characters as Sheena and Eden in '86, Sister Crota in The Promised Neverland, and Valkyrie Yuna in Eden Zero. Zena Robinson has played such characters as Vanitas in The Case Studies of Vanitas, Taka Kagami in June Girls Basketball and Go Above My Journeys. And lastly, Ray Chase has played such characters as Russell Elliott in Double Two Cut and Bible the Orphans, Masamune Goto and March Comes in Like a Lion, and Karamatsu and Mr. Osamatsu.
I'm just mad that they didn't introduce these characters earlier in the show. Like, I feel like these characters are like a wide range of interesting talent and personalities, and they're used so sparingly, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, to be fair, I would say like most of them, at least half of them, are introduced in the first half of the show, and then like the rest is just kind of like slowly introduced throughout the second half. But I guess to be fair, like when those other characters are introduced in the second half, they need usually to like say something important about like the whole immigrant story.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like Skip gets introduced in the music festival that they don't get to a premiere in, except they kind of do. And yeah, he's just kind of introduced, and that's it until we need him again. And then Desmond, Flora, and Ezekiel aren't introduced until like the last third of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I did find the second half of this show a lot more interesting, which, you know, works against the Netflix release model for the show, because I think I dropped it originally, having watched only the first half and then had to wait 6 months for the second half to come out.
Oh, that's right.
And then I just didn't pick it back up when it came back, which is unfortunate.
I mean, that does say quite a bit that what you saw in the show wasn't intriguing enough to make you want to pick it back up when the second half dropped.
Right, exactly, because the first half is primarily focused on this American Idol parody, practically.
Yeah.
So and then we get into the good shit in the second half of like why we make music and shit.
Well, and it's also the one that really amps up the more political commentary section of it. There were bits and pieces of it in the first half of it, but yeah, you're right. It was much more focused on the pageantry and the learning about the music industry side of it.
Yeah, I guess we're like, well, you know, we need Carole and Tuesday to like make their way in the music industry so we can like then get to the actually important stuff.
Yeah, I guess. Again, it's just that there's a wide range of characters here that, unlike shows like, unlike episodic series where you have like characters who don't come back in other episodes, this show does, and you had the opportunity to integrate them throughout the show in more interesting ways. Like, we're not going to talk about them, but there's a backup band that Carole and Tuesday get, and they just pick them up off the river, they show up for a little bit, and that's it. You know, like, they're not built up, it's just poof, they're there.
Yeah. They aren't the focus of the show. What do you want from us? This is the Carole and Tuesday show.
I did think that whole introduction was like pretty funny. That's like where you're like, hey, we need a bunch of things. Like, hey, we need a backup band. They find them. And like, oh, it was easy. It was easy. We just flirted with them a little bit, and they just decided to join up with us.
Give them a little Valentine's chocolate, and they're putty in your hands.
That is true.
Getting into these characters, I feel like we can probably start with Skip and Crystal since they aren't since they aren't in the show quite as much as the others. But I did like both of them a lot. Imari, I've always liked Imari Williams and like pretty much everything he does. I think he brings a pretty good quality to Skip. He just makes him sound like a pretty down to earth dude.
Yeah. He's got a lot of great presence, even though he's like very soft spoken. So I enjoyed whenever he was on screen.
He definitely provides a professional feel. Because we're dealing with performers who are pros. They are being paid for what they're doing. And he's introduced at a point where Carole and Tuesday aren't sure if they're going to be able to do well in front of an audience. So then we get Imari conveying the sense of confidence that a seasoned performer needs to have if you're going to perform music in front of a live audience.
Yeah. In front of your ex-girlfriend.
I almost forgot about that part.
Yeah.
That's a great bit of characterization where Crystal and Skip were an item at one point, and he's still performing the songs that she wrote or produced, as it were.
Yeah. I do think they have pretty decent on-screen chemistry whenever like they were around each other, and I thought that was like pretty interesting.
The 2 times they're on screen together.
Yeah. And while again he wasn't like in the back half of the show as much as I wish he was, like Imari did nail the important scenes that he needed to, particularly ones where he's like helping Carole and Tuesday like produce their first single. I thought that whole thing was pretty fun. Like, hey, you guys actually got Toby's approval. It only took you like 36 tries. That's a new record. And then he later scene where like he's like walking down the street with his buddies and like he's getting harassed by the cops because they don't like his music. And I thought that scene was very true to life in a lot of.
This is a little on the nose, isn't it? Where it escalates very quickly for no good goddamn reason.
Yep, and Imari got the frustration of that across really, really well, and that was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Christina's Crystal isn't really given like a quirk. I didn't feel like there's no like I kind of expected that with a show like this that there may be like pastiches of real life musicians interjected into the characters, and I couldn't really get a grasp on who Crystal was supposed to be. Like if she was supposed to be like a real life person, or was she just an amalgamation of nice, popular singer person?
It's showing my ignorance, but I was getting Beyonce vibes off of her.
I was also thinking Beyonce.
Really?
Yeah, not so much the put a ring on it Beyonce, but that kind of ballad vibe to her music. Like current number one is the vibe that they're going for with this character.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's definitely supposed to be an American performer of some kind.
Regardless, I thought that Christina did a good job of giving her like a pretty good sense of presence where you can tell that this is a really popular singer who was like very clearly like earned her reputation and her career, and that all comes off pretty well whenever Crystal's like interacting with other characters. And I was kind of amused by the whole bit where like she agreed to do a song with Carole and Tuesday, and they get like really nervous about the possibility that like she won't like the song because she's turned down other people before. And then seeing her Instagram with her like having the headphones on, I thought that was like pretty funny.
This track is golden. Which that's got to be breaking some NDA of some kind.
I mean, she didn't say what she was listening to, so it could be anything.
That's true. That there are voice actors who say like, "I'm recording today" without saying what they're actually recording. So okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah, you get a lot of, oh my god, I've been wanting to work on this property for ages, and then no further information. Mm-hmm. You can get away with that.
Now, I'm sorry. Are you got anything else on Christina?
No, I think we're good to move on to next character.
So I don't get this character, or rather, I don't get what purpose he serves in the narrative. I don't get why Desmond was introduced.
I guess Watanabe wanted to have more non-binary rep. I guess that kind of seemed why they were here. And it was a bit of an awkward inclusion compared to like some of the other characters here, but I did like Desmond for the most part. They seemed pretty chill.
I think they are one of the first other characters to say like, this is why I make music. This is why I do the things I do. I want to leave my mark on the world. Like you get a couple other people of like, we want to express ourselves and this and that, but they are one of the first to really zero in on that and try to pass that message along.
Dude, but yeah, there's that sense, and Patrick does an interesting job with their quirk, to make them stand out from the other characters. But it also seemed like it was a section for them to explain the more sci-fi elements of this a little bit. Like, some people's bodies just kind of have a reaction to the Mars landscape. Some people, it makes them, it blurs their gender a little bit more.
Readjust their brain chemistry a little bit, and they feel more themselves.
Which, to be fair, it's more progressive than some other shows. I don't know if you've ever seen this anime called Basquatch, but it's a show about basketball in outer space. And one of the quirks of growing up on the moon is that some of the women become more endowed due to the low gravity. So I'm glad we didn't need to stoop to those levels in this show.
Love that for them.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes of Basquatch, and yeah, I definitely noticed that every female character in that show had very large assets.
Do they make reference to that, or is that just a running joke about this?
I think it's not just a running joke. I mean, it's a character feature in that show, but they do actually stop to explain it at one point.
Yeah. I did think Patrick Seitz was an interesting casting choice here because the singing voice is like very high and ephemeral, and they're like to play the gender spectrum and portray that they're getting a very low-voiced Patrick Seitz to do the voice otherwise.
Yeah, I do think Patrick did a good job doing the whole like androgynous voice. Again, it would have been back today maybe trying to cast an actual non-binary actor here, but it is what it is, I guess. That's
true. I mean, the devil's advocate argument on that about, you didn't cast enough openly queer people is that, there may be queer people in this cast who just aren't out about that kind of thing.
I know there were definitely a couple, in the Cali area at the time who they could have maybe casted, but that didn't happen for whatever reason.
Yeah, making sure to try to match the character's gender identity definitely wasn't a high priority in the casting for this.
Yeah. I think, for example, some of the people that some LGBTQ people in this show that we know of now, we didn't know of at the time.
That is also true.
Yeah. Like this was, was this before the Netflix dub of Evangelion came out?
Yes, this was 2019 that this came out.
Okay, yeah, so this was before we had a very prominent character.
Casey had been in bangs and stuff well before Ava, so I mean.
I know.
Admittedly, I guess for this character, it might have not been the exact same vocal register as the Seiyu, I guess, but it's also. But, you also don't always have to match that, but, it is what it is, I guess. Whatever.
But it's not, it wasn't a high priority for them.
Yeah.
But, like you were saying, Jackson, it was kind of interesting getting, against typecast, getting Patrick Seitz of all people, Germany himself, to voice the more higher-pitched, non-binary character. Probably never get that ever again.
He has played other female characters. For example, I've just been playing the Somnium Files, where he plays Mama, a bar bar hostess, for lack of a better term, informant. I would say that this is better representation than Mama in that first game.
I do like Mama a lot, but the jokes can be a little bit
They're more mean about her weight than anything else.
Oh, that's not cool.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know what also isn't cool? Drug dependency.
Flora goes through a lot because you can't have a show talking about musicians without I guess delving into this topic at least a little bit.
We already had one alcoholic in the cast, so yeah, we've got to have someone who's had a substance abuse problem.
Yeah. This is the one that gets the TV documentary about their fall from grace.
But do they get to interview them for the documentary?
Well, they're still alive, so they haven't made this documentary yet.
Right, but would Flora be interested in being interviewed for it? Is the question.
No,
I think she'd decline.
Anyway, I thought Rebecca Thomas did a pretty good job here. portraying Flora during, her early days with Gus when the two of them were just kind of like getting started. And then like later when we see her in the present after she's like had her fall from grace and she like sounds a lot shakier and more unsteady, and I thought that Rebecca Thomas got that across pretty well. And in general, I thought that episode on the whole was like really interesting.
Yeah, that was a strong episode. That was really touching. Especially.
She has a fantastic singing voice, like unlike any other ones that we hear in the cast.
Yeah. That Flora is akin to musical royalty, as far as this show's concerned. I think, where her influence is far-reaching and inspirations.
This is actually going to go into a. Well, it's not a criticism of a dub script. It's more of a. Well, hindsight is 2020 thing, because there is a point earlier in the show where where Gus is talking to Carole after Tuesday is forcibly taken back home by her mom, and Gus is talking about a partner he had who he broke things off with, and how he regretted never being able to mend that relationship. At the time, Gus refers to that person with male pronouns, but in hindsight, it is really obvious he was talking about Flora, and I'm pretty sure the Netflix subs caught on to this because the subs use female pronouns for this person, and the dub did not. So I'm guessing it's a case where they didn't know ahead of time, and they weren't able to go back and correct that. But,
seems like a case of we dubbed this in two chunks. We had different directors for both chunks.
I mean, for God's sakes, the name of the episode is called A Natural Woman.
Okay.
But
I don't know
like
if that.
Said, hindsight's 20.
I don't know if that helps in this scenario. No.
But yeah, what else we got here? Can we talk about Ezekiel too?
Yeah, because there's a very not good not talk about Zena Robinson.
But this right here, this is the character I feel has the bangers. We were just talking about the 3 times music. This is the bangers.
Absolutely.
Pretty good rap, really good, and really good representation of rap as a tool to talk about politics.
Yeah. I get really excited about wordplay in music, so this was my shit. I was all up in
it. Was
yeah.
It was good.
Mars backwards is Ram S. Did you know that?
Not until this song came out.
Oh.
And his entire inclusion addresses something that had been bugging me about the whole show. Not just the dub, but the direction of the show, in that the premise in the second half is that we're going to use music to address injustices, and they do it with, I'm sorry to say it, they do it with We Are the World, Mars edition, but that's not what's actually fixing anything. Yeah. Ezekiel's music is the one that's actually addressing the injustices and getting up in people's faces and making them think about it.
I didn't think they were going to play We Are the World straight. I didn't think I had more faith in the show than that.
Oh, you poor child. I gotta be honest, when it was getting towards the end of the show, and I was thinking okay, I see the premise, how are they gonna resolve this? What can these people do? And you know what came to my mind? The Pandemic Imagine music video.
I was going to say the Pandemic Cowboy Bebop tank rendition by many musical artists, including the Yoko Kanno.
Oh no, that was good.
That actually did show unity in a trying time.
It did, you're right. But whereas what we needed in this time was, we don't need a happy ballad like We Are the World. We needed actual change. We need activism. We need, stop the bad, evil person from bad immigrant policies.
We need acknowledgement that shit's fucked.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And like I said before we started recording, here in America, we are just recording this soon after the midterm primaries just ended, where we are encouraged to go vote against the injustices of the world.
But you guys are like always in election season.
Yes.
Up here in Canada, like as I understand it, the Elections Canada is working very hard all the time, so the Prime Minister can call an election, and a month later, the election's over. It's a great system.
It sounds like a great system.
We even have more than two parties.
See, it would be so easy to have more than two parties here in America if that was the standard already. I feel like we're too late, you know? We've already eaten into the two-party system, and it would take multiple generations to change people's minds on that. It's too late for us. So
sorry
go
to get briefly political, but my grandpa was a member of that third party, for example, here in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we should go ahead and just be straight up and honest that all three of the people in this call are raging leftists. So if that's a turnoff for you, welcome to the club.
Pretty damn right.
Also, again, I do not know why you would be watching this particular episode for this particular show. Again, it's not solely what I'm talking about.
Well, maybe we can change some minds, you know? Have some optimism, Jet.
Yeah. You know, go listen to We Are the World again. Maybe that will make you have a change of heart. You know what's really funny is libertarians. They have access to some, you know, mind-altering substances, and then they take these substances and learn that other people have emotions. It's real weird how they, all of a sudden learn empathy while high.
I mean, it's better than not learning it at all.
You just hope that sticks with them when they come back down.
Turning things back around to Jenna's performance, I really liked him here. He did a good job of making Izuku here, sound like very gruff without getting, too over the top with it or, leading too much into any, obvious stereotypes. You can tell he's had a hard life, and he's, maybe putting on a bit of an act because he's had a hard life.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not, but he's never going, too hard with it, and, when he does finally reunite with Carole and, admit he does recognize her, he does drop the facade. He does drop the facade a little bit, and you can see that in Zeno's performance, which I really appreciated.
You can always, you can feel his soul screaming out when he needs to get things down, get things out on the walls or wherever he is. It's a good foil for Carole's character to have someone with that shared experience, and have that for us in the main duo.
It was definitely very important to have a character like that to, help remind Carole where she came from and maybe, because it's not like she's not completely ignoring these issues, but maybe isn't as focused on them as she is her music career, but then realizing through this reunion that hey, this is something I need to maybe take more seriously, and then leading into the final scene of the show.
We're getting told it impacts her more than we're actually seeing it on screen in the runtime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's just something that kind of crossed my mind is also perhaps the inclusion of this character was, because this happens with Tuesday as well, is to have a male character that you could possibly ship our two main characters with, because heaven forbid we consider the possibility that Carole and Tuesday may be loving for each other. No. We've got to have potential male suitors in the cast as well.
They're just really good friends. They're just the best friends.
I can't tell if you're saying that sarcastically or not.
And they were roommates.
It did feel like the show could have pushed that harder than it actually did.
Plausible deniability, as always. But this is the same show that had a on-screen lesbian kiss in episode 4. So
that was great. So it is hard to say if it's just something they didn't want to do, or some producer is saying you can't do that. We'll never know.
I don't know. I mean,
but regardless, I do think that Zeno did a really good job as a sequel. This was one of my favorite side performances, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then Ray Chase's earning it is just basically having a very good time here.
Yeah, he gets to be both over the top and depressed. He even has a little mini breakdown where he has multiple personalities at one point.
What a good episode.
Yeah,
they somehow got me cheering for this asshole.
Yeah, a very good reminder that you should never ever invest in crypto.
Yeah, it felt like the entire point was that because he's not down and out for very long. He's back up top in like a couple of episodes. It's like this whole episode was written just to bash on cryptocurrency, which fair.
It was technically a guy robbing him blind or out from under him. So don't insult the butler. But it is a rug pull, which happens a lot with cryptocurrencies.
That's the entire reason that they exist. Still exist. I'm really hoping that by the time this episode goes, now your people are listening to it, that cryptocurrency just vanishes entirely. That the entire system is just gone.
Look at that number drop.
I've been watching it drop. It's been fun. Every day the line gets lower and lower.
I've been watching it since I had to explain the blockchain to my aunt. So I'm glad I won't have to do that again.
I think I've had to do that too. Like it seems like older people we've had to explain that to, and as I explain it more and more, and maybe you had the same experience, they kind of watch like, how is this a real thing?
And you're supposed to, but where does the money come into it?
Well, you see, this complex code here, it's valued at a certain amount, and if people say it's worth this much, then it totally is. It's totally not a decentralized Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, but anyway, I really liked Ray Chase a lot here. He was fun whenever he was on screen. I did appreciate how well he portrayed the little grudge he had against Carole and Tuesday during the first half of the show. Where every time he's around Ronnie, he's like, oh, I thought I heard those two awful girls somewhere in the background.
They're haunting his dreams. Those two menaces.
Yeah, and then when he's on Mars Bright, he finally sees him on screen, on stage, and you can just see it in his face.
He can't control his body. He just releases a primal scream.
Yeah, and then he has to try his hardest to pretend to be fair, which is really funny. Yeah.
And then, he's getting to play multiple aspects of this character. He's getting to be the angel and devil on his own shoulder.
Yep. I mean, I will appreciate that that this character is very full of himself, but when push comes to shove, he is at least professional. He does at least sort of care about things. He is, when they're doing the whole Grammys award, he is one of the first ones to call out Valerie on all her everything she's doing with her campaign, and then when Carole and Tuesday decide they want to do their song, he's actually willing to help them out, which for him is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Not initially, because he's the first one to say this is a stupid idea, but it's interesting, isn't it?
He does actually have friends. It's surprising. And he will stick by his friends. He lent out his luxury car to his buddy. For no reason. No reason given. He's just can I, please? And he's, I can't say no to you, Rhodey. You're my best friend. Come back. And it has been hit by a meteor somehow.
It has been wrecked. Honestly, you say that he lent them that for no good reason. I think it was a flex. A flex of, I have this many luxury vehicles. I can afford to lend you one.
On that note, we are not talking about this character, but I do want to shout out Kimberly and Campbell playing the robot who is basically just QT as an alcoholic. It's great.
Idia, the 1-star robot.
You think someone would have read a review about that thing before buying it?
They did it. You would think, but no. Apparently, not even the star review was enough to make them go, maybe this is a bad idea.
And that is where we get the actual QT cameo from Space Dandy as he's watching anime and drinking beer.
Absolutely. Which means if Space Dandy is an anime in this universe, so does that mean that this is like one level up from the Space Dandy universe?
Okay. To be fair, there are multiple universes in Space Dandy, so like that's not saying a whole lot.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yes, the Rebel was watching a version of Space Dandy that was the universe that is the TV show, but there is another version of Space Dandy that's actually in our reality. There's a version of Space Dandy where we're the television show. Just blew your mind, man.
What?
But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Ray Chase did a good job.
I liked everyone here. I thought they did a good job.
No one does a bad job here. And I'm sorry, last thing, just a question. Am I right in this, in that all of the actors here also did their music, they did their singing as well?
This is all coming from the original Japanese track, as far as I can find.
Okay.
Original Japanese track had English singers for all the songs, and those singers were retained for the dub.
Okay, because all the Japanese performances were very good, and like you mentioned before,
I mean, they're all very good singers. Like Watanabe actually, I remember notably Watanabe and Hori actually held auditions to cast Carole and Tuesday singers initially, back when they first announced the show, so they very clearly cared about this.
Right. And if I read an interview correctly, they actually recorded the songs before they even started animating. They animated around the music.
That would check out.
Yeah, I would believe that. That lip sync is on point. And
yes, it is. Some very pronounced jaw movements. Well, this has been a fun, happy discussion about musicians here. Can we get another fun, happy group in the next section, Jet?
No, because now that we talked about the musicians, it's time to talk about everyone's favorite topic, politics.
No!
Now, hold on. Haven't we had enough yet? No.
We are not nearly done. So we've got Valerie Simmons, Spencer Simmons, Jerry Egan, Kyle Swartz, and Dan, because I couldn't really find anywhere else to put him, frankly. So Valerie is Tuesday and Spencer's mother and a politician who decides to take on an anti-immigrant stance in order to win the March presidential election. Spencer is Tuesday's older brother and helps his mom win her campaign before deciding to work against her when he takes on the anti-immigrant stance. Jerry is Valerie's political consultant who pushes Valerie to take on the anti-immigrant stance while manipulating things behind the scenes to ensure she gets elected by any means necessary. Swartz is a powerful businessman who runs a company called Intergalactic Inc. and is at one point he's rooting for both Jerry and Valerie so he can use her to have more power over NARD, and he is totally not reminiscent of any particular politicians whatsoever, just not at all. Especially not that one with the orange hair, just not at all.
Not at all. It's just completely out of Watanabe's brain, just completely out of nowhere.
And then lastly, Dan is a mysterious visitor from Earth who befriends Carole and is later revealed to be one of her missing parents.
Again, a character who I really would have liked to have seen more of.
To be fair, in this particular case, I do kind of understand why he was not a lasting presence in the show.
Yes, they have an in-universe reason why his planet needed him and his spaceship blew up on the way back to Earth. No, that's not entirely accurate. But yeah, there's a whole lot of potential in the dynamic of having a parent back in Carole's life that I would have written it differently.
I appreciate the initial reaction to it of, I don't care about family. They aren't a part of my life. I'm not interested in that. And then it comes in and she starts having those ties to her past and her history, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So playing Valerie, we have Rachel Robinson. For Spencer, we have Lucian Dodge. For Jerry, we have Kirk Thornton. For Schwartz, we have Richard Epcar. Kyle is played by Ben Lepley. And Dan is played by Amy. Russell Robinson has played such characters as Mav in Aka 13 Territory Inspection Squad, uh, Gundam Roll in Brave Witches, and Tokiko in the Heike Story. Lucian Dodge has played such characters as Adolf K. Weisman in Kids Animation, Weaver Velvet in Fate Zero, and Mahito in Jujutsu Kaisen. Kirk Thornton displays his characters as Minotaur Blue Dragon, Sheriff Fujimoto in Blue Exorcist, and Don Patch in Bobobo. Richard Epcar displays his characters as Old Joseph Joestar in Joe's Bizarre Adventure and Stardust Crusaders, and some of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and Daisuke Jigen in most modern iterations of the Lupin the Third franchise. And Lepley has played such characters as Suzu's father in Belle, Martin in Full Dive, and Amai Mask in One Punch Man. And as for EB, this is the only credit to his name, but as I'm pretty sure you can tell by the name EB, this is an alias, and I'll leave it to your imagination who this is.
Yeah. I imagine EB stands for Electronics Boutique, which is a chain of video game stores here.
I'm sure that's it. So you're assuming that this alias is for a Canadian actor?
Yeah, I assume they owe me money for trade-in value. Or it could be like a JEB and it's Jeb, and it's a Jeb sweep.
It's ironic. It's ironic because you figured out the. It's ironic because you figured out the actual actor's whole initials, but I'll leave it at that.
By the way, thank you for bringing it back to the subject of politics by referencing the Jeb sweep meme. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Politics. That's a Morbius meme.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I guess we can start with Dan. He's not in the show much, but I do again kind of like his presence here when he, because it is around the time where like a whole bunch of people start approaching Carole like, oh hey, we're your long lost family and we're totally not here because we think you have a lot of money.
Somebody was watching Annie when they made this episode.
Sure were. It is a tried and true trope.
Yeah. So he's in this way, just like this nice guy who's just kind of like hanging around, helping Carole a bit, like teaching her martial arts and stuff, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
He's very salt of the earth personality, where he's not trying to get involved at all.
Yeah. And then when he's walking with Carole and like he does the whole revelation, which I appreciate that he does, just kind of like do it secondhand. And I thought that the way that whole thing was delivered was really well done. Like you can definitely tell this is a person with like a lot of regrets, and I thought that really came through in EB's performance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not trying to leave any regrets or pressure on other people. So
yeah.
That's appreciated in the writing and the performance that comes across with that.
Like you can tell he doesn't want to like upend Carole's life in any way, and that he probably wasn't going to say anything initially, but I guess he felt like he could just get it off his chest to some degree.
Mm-hmm. It definitely felt
like. I do appreciate that. Like I do appreciate that there is a hope that they will like maybe see each other again someday, but I guess we'll never know if that happens.
Well, no. It says at the very end of the show, to be continued. In your mind.
I do appreciate that.
So clearly they got back together at some point.
Your fanfic is canon. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. There you go. All fanfic is canon.
Yep. And then moving on from this nice end to a couple of very terrible people, Jerry and Schwartz are just the two most cartoonishly evil characters in this show, and Richard and Kirk here are just like very clearly having a lot of fun playing that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you've heard Kirk and Richard in things before, you may recognize the voices they give these characters. It's not cartoony and over the top in like the pitch or the tone they give them, but the way that they say the words sometimes can be a little over the top and very fitting for political and financial bad guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a weird balance though, because you're not supposed to like these characters, which I don't think we do, but they're not so despicable that you just want them off the screen. It's a very hard act to do for bad guys.
Both definitely do have that right level of presence where they're very despicable when you do want to see them get their comeuppance, but they are played in a way where they are kind of entertaining to watch in a sense.
Yeah.
A very slimy evil, a competent slimy evil.
Yes.
That loves what they're doing.
They love money and power.
That
being said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
They're the big dick in charge. And they like it that way. Carry on.
The HDIC, as it were.
Yes.
You can't have a show without politics, without, their bullet or donors, I guess.
Now, that being said, I do have a qualm with just Jerry's character, because the show kind of makes it seem like the push towards anti-immigrant policies is not the result of, the population's insecurities or the acts of multiple individuals' bad faith or any of the things that actually lead to people adopting anti-immigrant policies. No, it's just this one guy. Like, we can just pin all the bad on this one guy. But if you get rid of the one bad guy, problem solved.
To be fair, I don't think it's a case of, this guy is necessarily causing a particular problem, he is the one... he is the one who is, clearly pushing Valerie to take that stance, which is kind of an annoying thing in its own way.
Yeah.
But I think, by his own admission, he is, riding on a wave that is currently existing, and we don't know for sure that the wave has been, entirely resolved afterwards. We just know the characters tried their best to, do something about it in some way.
It is a legitimate, with air quotes, political strategy that is being used in the real world. Sadly enough.
It's a strategy being used.
You are absolutely correct that it doesn't just go away with Jerry.
It's a strategy that was used very clearly during the time the show was airing.
The groundwork was laid long before him and has been laid for other people to come after. So you gotta stay on top of that shit.
Not to pull from the quotes section, but I can't remember who exactly said this, but if you convince a white man that he is better than other races, he will willingly give you his money.
Yeah, no, they just need someone to other. Right? That's a common message. Political message. They just need someone to other. And you can not pacify them easily. Populace easily that way.
Yeah. No, you can't. Yeah, the entire... But again, the conclusion that the show comes to at the end, spoiler alert, is that if you just stop having anti-immigrant policies, then everything goes back to normal. But it's not that easy. We as a society, and those of us who think we're doing the right thing, are trying to actually ensure that there are no anti-immigrant policies, or that those who are coming to this country as refugees, or just those who are looking for a better life, are welcome here and can prosper, because we all benefit from that. And also, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna get on my soapbox here. But...
To be fair, it's a case where, the show could have did a much better job of, fully concluding the messy politics it was dealing with. But, given how relevant those messy politics are, I personally have to applaud it making the attempt at all. So, that's kind of my stance.
I guess. Speaking of messy politics, do we want to address the elephant in the room about who Valerie is modeled after?
It is very clear.
Yeah. Anime really like to do a female president for a time. before they were proven wrong about that hope.
To which, I mean, man, there's a lot that's unlikable about Valerie, both the character and frankly the politician, because again, even putting aside the obvious evilness of Jerry here, if her convictions are, if she lacks convictions to the point where she was, willing to go along with this just to get elected, maybe she shouldn't be in politics to begin with, frankly.
Yeah, you don't get to take like a moral stance of having backed down from trying to start Brexit on the moon. You were all gun ho for that when it was benefiting you. So you're a piece of shit. Sorry to say.
I can't confirm this or not, but talking back on the point about female presidents in media, this was also made around the same time that South Korea's prime minister, I think, who's also female, was outed from her position due to a really high level of corruption, like a whole lot of bribery and just misuse of her position as well.
We briefly had a female prime minister here, but that was a weird situation where the prime minister had stepped down, and their second in the command took the position, and then was voted out in the next election, like 3 months later, something like that.
Okay.
So we very briefly got a lady in the prime minister's office.
Well, this performance doesn't really do that image any favors by making it seem like I'm just doing what the numbers are, and I'm also not a very good mom. No, it's all about it's all about the career for me.
And to her credit, Rachel does do a very good job of making this character sound very unlikable.
She's being real convincing in those political speeches.
Oh, very convincing.
Yeah, they don't, like a lot of the other cast, they don't really tell Rachel to give her character like a quirk or something to make her sound, like cartoonish or overly distinct. It feels like a very natural a very natural dramatic performance from Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate the naturalism. Even when the character is making very questionable decisions, like all the obvious immigration stuff, and then even just with the whole family situation, when Spencer calls her out on it, that even when Tuesday went missing, she didn't want to fill out a police report or go looking for her herself at all. Which that's a prime parenting material right there.
Like that kind of bugged me. It's like it didn't feel like the fact that she didn't go looking for her daughter very much. It didn't feel like a shortness of her parenting skills. It felt like a weak story element to ensure that Carole and Tuesday would remain together unfettered.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. That did seem to be a pretty big part of that character, and also, to the show's credit, Spencer finds her almost immediately, and then decides to not say anything. So, so it's not like anyone has no idea where she is.
It's so they can pull that trigger later when they need a mid-season climax.
Thank you. Yes, they wait until oh shoot, it's coming up on episode 12. Well, we better pull that trigger now. Yeah. And then it lasts for half an episode.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I did like Lucian Dodge a lot as Spencer here. Again, this is another character where it would have been very easy to make this character very obnoxious, but for the most part, he seems like a pretty okay dude. You can tell that maybe they didn't have the best relationship starting out, but he does very clearly care about his sister and does want to look out for her, which comes across pretty well with Lucian's performance. And I do appreciate that they established early on that she does find her almost immediately, and then decides not to say anything because he can see that she's clearly happy she's clearly happy where she is, and he sort of, I guess, envies that in a sense, which I thought came across pretty well.
Yeah, there's a way to do this kind of character that could have been a lot more stuffier, like more business oriented. I'm trying to find the person who played him. Who was it? It was Ian Sinclair who played the Big Brother character in Princess Jellyfish, who was also like an underling of his family's political system, who didn't really push back against the system. But that's a very different kind of performance than what Lucian's going for here. So I appreciate that they made him more fun, more comes around to help out in the second half of the show. And I really love when he jumps off a bridge, he gets the best scream of the whole show.
That was beautiful.
I can't duplicate it, but it's very fun to listen to.
It really comes out of nowhere.
What you think this is an action movie? Ah!
There goes Noah's mic peaking. Discord cutting out.
Yeah, that was fun. And then, I liked Ben Lepley as Carole a lot. I thought he did a pretty good job with that character.
I can see why Tuesday would fall for the pretty guy with the long blonde hair. And the good pickup line, taking advantage of his hearing loss.
This is clearly a very smooth guy who's also, I guess, kind of like been around a lot, seen a lot, and like you get that sense of loneliness across in Ben's performance.
Yeah. I was prepared for this character to suddenly be the bad guy at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I was always a little suspicious just because Tuesday is a very bad judge of character a couple of times.
But no, he's a good dude. It just turns out he's like kind of a dumb teenager.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, sure. No, but I think what Jackson was getting at is that, like, you kind of expect that he's going to become the bad guy.
Yeah. Like he's investigating this explosion, and I was expecting him to be the source of that explosion.
Which really, and we find out the worst thing he did in the whole show is just has a girlfriend, and didn't tell Tuesday about it.
To which he has no obligation. Yeah. It's not like he knows he's a dumb teenager.
You're right. Let this be a lesson that just because you have a crush on someone, you are not entitled to them. You are not Avril Lavigne, and you are not going up and telling me about, hey, you, I don't like your girlfriend.
Yeah. Some guys are just fuckboys like that.
Where would we be without fuckboys? By the way, this is way off topic, but speaking of fuckboys, when you guys finished watching the show on Netflix, what was the thing that Netflix recommended next?
Probably Breaking Bad. It seems to like recommending that to me.
Same for you, Jet?
Might have been. So,
okay. Okay, because I got something way different. This is a music-based show, and apparently there's a new documentary on Netflix about the 1999 Woodstock fiasco. So that was the thing that popped up right after, wholesome music brings us all together, and all of a sudden it's Descent into Hell, Woodstock 1999.
Wow. Alright. I guess we're going to move on. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the supporting cast. So we're going to talk about Dahlia Carpenter, Tao, Katie Kimura, Gus Goldman, Roddy, and Toby. So Dahlia is Angela's mother and agent, and while the wording in the dub is a little less clear about this, I believe she is supposed to be intersex, specifically. And Tao is Angela's producer, who runs an AI firm and is lacking in normal human emotions. Katie is Angela's manager, who's just kind of doing her best to put up with everything. Gus is Gus is a washed out manager who eventually decides to take on managing Carole and Tuesday after listening to their first performance. Ronnie is a friend of Gus and a sound engineer who mostly works for Erdogan. He's also just kind of a huge dork and kind of sucks, which I'm glad the show rightly recognizes. And then lastly, Toby is a music producer who's regarded as a legend in the industry, and who eventually decides to take on producing Carole and Tuesday after they do well on Mars Brightest. And he also drops more S-bombs than your stomach after a 7-Eleven burrito.
Don't
It's great.
I would say he is the most profane character of the cast, but again, Mermaid Sisters.
He's a very close second.
Indeed.
Okay, so playing Dahlia is Brooke Chalmers. Playing Tao, we have Carl McCarley. For Katie, we have Zephy Wynn. For Gus, we have Jason Moroka. For Roddy, we have Zach Aguilar. And for Toby, we have Joe DiMucci. So Brooke Chalmers has played such characters as Gustav in The Sense of a Bookworm, Yoshioka in Ikebukuro Westgate Park, and Sakoji Uranaki in Demon Slayer. Kyle McCarley has played such characters as Ichimatsu in Mr. Ichimatsu. Kakeo Shigeyama aka Mom and Mom Saka 100, and Yu Ominaye in Spriggan. Zephy Wynn has played such characters as Anna Mifune in Glepnir, Yunayuki and Yuki Yuna's a Hero, and Makuya in Makuya Where the Promised Flower Blooms. Jason Monota has played such characters as Matsuki Kagorochi in One Punch Man Season 2, Charlotte Elman in One Piece, God Sakanabu in Megalobox, and Megatron in Transformers War for Cybertron. Zach Aguilar has played such characters as Genos in One Punch Man, Koji Rosei in Joseph's Bizarre Adventure, Diamonds Unbreakable, and Luca Travers in Scarlet Nexus. Lastly, Joe DiMucci has largely gone by other names, but has played such characters as Will in Tweety Witches, Soya in Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit, and Detective Oshi in the old Gideon dub of Higurashi When They Cry.
Forgetting about voice acting for a second here, Atlas should be suing Bones, because Tao is one Persona 4 looking motherfucker. Like, you look at that character design, and you tell me that person is not from that video game.
You
Persona 4 specifically is a... interesting
Yes.
to do, not on Persona 4 specifically, but you're not totally wrong there.
Exactly. Anyway, that's all I've got.
Yeah, I guess we could probably start with Petey and Toby, since they are kind of in the show less compared to the other supporting members here, but they are both pretty fun. I appreciate Zephy doing a good job of playing this dorky manager who's just like very clearly trying her best to put up an Angela who is just barely much a diva. And that whole thing is pretty fun. And then, during the second half, where like Angela's life starts falling apart, she's like a pretty good supporting presence, and Zephy does that pretty well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she doesn't get to be in a whole lot, but anything Xanthi does, she's just got that kind of voice that really stands out, so you remember the few lines that she's got really well.
Mm-hmm.
The show doesn't seem to have a high opinion of the fan obsession with celebrity, so it's easy to see like how Angela suspects Katie when something goes wrong immediately. She's doing other shady shit, sniffing her lipstick, but she's not guilty on this front.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. But she does get it's a different side to like the Sybil story where it's like, but I'm your number one fan. How could you say something so mean to me? That she's not acting on in a dangerous way. but
she's
is
not
taking it personally.
Yeah.
You know?
She's not engaging in any criminal behavior.
No, no,
And she's taking her job seriously for the most part.
Oh, definitely. And she's the one who's getting stomped on a lot more by Angela. It's not the fan making life difficult for celebrity. It's the other way around here.
They're not a good match in the beginning.
Yeah.
But they get there eventually.
Yeah. And then Joe DiMurti is Toby. Again, this character is here to drop a lot of S-bombs, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So, did either of you watch this in the Japanese to compare it to the English?
Not this far in.
Okay. Because I wanted to know if Toby's original dialogue was, this profane laden, which I'm looking at the character design. I'm watching the animation.
I did have the subtitle. I did have the subtitle track on to.
If he's not saying shit, he's saying Kuso, right?
Oh yeah, to compare lines, and while the S-bomb was not used as much as it was in the dub, he was dropping profane words at every other sentence, so that is like a very consistent part of that character.
Mm-hmm. When he shows up with the axe, it's very like God of War Thor looking, where he's got the pork belly, the unshaven hair, and just matted hair, and just wild screams. Right?
That was beautiful.
Yeah. Man, Mars messes with you. I guess the only criticism I might have on Joe's side is that it's funny. It is really funny throughout the whole thing. But as it goes along, I feel like it kind of loses its impact just because you kind of grow numb to the constant profanity list. Like imagine if in Full Metal Jacket the opening section just had the same like insult over and over again. No, you got to diversify that a little bit more. You got to keep it fresh.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, as the show goes along, the character does gradually become like a little more serious as he like gets more endeared to the girls, and also talks more about what's going on in the world. So that's so the performance does like shift a bit to reflect that mood.
The warmest he gets is basically going from this is shit to this is good shit. If this was like, say, a vulgar comedy, they wouldn't just rely on repeating the one swear word that much. It does lose impact after a couple times. You sprinkle it in, you vary it up. But that's not what they're trying to go for with this character, right?
Yeah, that's my problem. Is I'm watching the show and I'm constantly thinking of how would I do this differently, rather than judging it on its own merits.
Yeah. Would you lean more in on the like Texan history or
definitely
heritage for that example?
Oh yeah, like maybe even give like a stereotypical Texan accent.
Yeah. I do like the voice that he's doing, where it's like I can hear the spittle in his mouth at all times.
Oh yeah. There's gravel and there's spittle in there, definitely.
It does make the shit come out nicely.
That's another one where the as opposed to the stage performances where you can watch the mouth animation match what's being sung. Toby's character where like his really big facial expressions match what he's saying.
Yep. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Tao, who is just, a very muted kind of guy.
He's a robot.
Were you expecting that that plot point to come up were you expecting that to be the twist?
Yeah, I was.
Not that specific twist, but that was pretty interesting.
He's a robot that learned to love. Not this time.
I mean, it does. I mean, in hindsight, it does very much explain why I guess he wasn't, if not endeared to Angela right away, while he was like willing to put up with her so much. It makes sense now.
Curious about her. He is an interesting character where he puts all of his faith in AI and his creations, and is like, AI is perfect. My machine is perfect. I need you for the human element. I just need a puppet. I just need someone I just need like your vocal cords, basically. But that's not actually the case of being replaceable. There is more to it. There is like this human element to it. I think he like later into the show is learning this emotions, is like being impacted by the music that he's listening to.
Yeah, so, yeah. I did specifically like being around Angela because she is very emotional, like all over the place, and I think that she does sort of like start to gradually rub off on him, and he does kind of, I guess, gain more of a gradual interest in emotions through like interacting with her, which is done kind of subtly, which I appreciate.
The one very deadpan thumbs up, great moment. The one bit of praise that he gives her.
You can tell he does gradually. She does kind of gradually grow on him, especially like during the second half of the show. I appreciate that he was willing to go out of his way to help her during the whole soccer incident.
And he was staunchly, my tools will not be used for political gain.
Yes. God, he's got a spine.
Yeah. He's got spine. He's got morals.
So that when they did try to use that stuff for politics anyway, he hacked their whole company and leaked all of it to the press.
Yeah. He went Seto Kaiba on their ass.
Yes, he did. Like a boss. What I appreciate about Kyle's performances is that he's done this kind of dry, stoic character before, but every time it's never monotone. It's always got flavor and character and personality to it that is, I feel like it's hard to do for some actors to maintain both the stoic part and the personality side, but he manages to balance the two of them very well.
Yeah. You can definitely hear, like, for example, this character is not a fan of small talk, and that does come across very well. Get to the point. We're doing this by the letter. We're doing this my way, and if you could just get with the program, that would be great.
Now, his inclusion as a character seemed to be commentary on the modern state of pop music, where you can use machines to make your music, which I wasn't quite sure if that was supposed to be commentary on using electronic instruments to make the music, or abandoning real life songwriters in favor of EDM kind of music that we've got nowadays.
Yeah, I felt it was like specifically commentary on, I guess, more like less musicians like being able to do stuff on their own, and more like, you're going to make these songs we tell you to make.
Oh, like producer-driven songs as opposed to singer-songwriter kind of songs?
Yeah.
Like you can synthesize with an algorithm the perfect song. Originality is dead, for example. And these types of angles. Like, nothing is purely original. This is true in the real world. And that's not necessarily the argument that the show is making.
Well, I feel like that was that whole originality is, or it's difficult to have original songs. Everything is a mashup of pre-existing stuff. Yeah. Was exemplified more by Erdogan, whereas this character seems to be more like there's no thought put into your songs anymore, because you can mechanically create a song because we know where the beats are supposed to go. We know that upbeat music gets people dancing. We know where the drop's supposed to go. So why worry about making it authentically anymore when we can just mathematically create the perfect pop song?
Yeah. Etrigan is up the creek without a paddle when he loses his AI. Tao is like trying to perfect it. He's like, there's something still not perfect enough about this yet, and we can get there. And he's exploring this human option.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I'll admit I'm behind on modern pop music, so I'm not sure how prevalent that problem actually is in modern pop music. But I'm assuming Watanabe seemed to prefer, the classics, the good old vinyl songs, and not this modern EDM mechanical songs kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then moving on to Brooke Chalmers as Dahlia. This was a very interesting character.
Yeah.
Definitely went in definitely went in some interesting directions. Some I was not expecting, mostly in a way I am grateful for, but yeah.
I'll just say that I've seen enough Bob's Burgers or Muppets performances where it's very clearly a male character high pitching it up to make a female voice. So I kind of appreciate that in the universe of the show, the lower voice and the character design is explained away as being like, we're not mocking women in general. This is a character who, like you were saying, is probably intersex due to science gobbledygook.
As yeah, like Dahlia does. Like it is mentioned throughout the, like it is mentioned kind of offhand that Dahlia did have like surgery much earlier on. So and I guess she's like a little more balanced now compared to back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it is suggested that back then things were a lot more tense between her and Angela, and Angela is still kind of uncomfortable around her because of that. It's sort of the impression.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at much earlier in the episode with the writing and the Dahlia's manipulation of Angela. Like, this is straight out of the textbook of child prodigy with a lot of pressure pushed onto them from their parent, who is living vicariously through their kids.
Dahlia is like 100% of a celebrity parent.
Mm-hmm. Toddlers and Tiaras, I believe, is the drama, TV drama.
That is a TV drama. Yeah. Yes, there's Dance Moms would probably be another one.
Yeah.
None of them portray stage parents in a positive light, which is not fair to all of them. I've done some stage work, and I know that there are good handlers. There are supportive parents who have kids who are in the performing arts. This is just not one of them.
No.
Where would our show be if we had good supportive parental roles?
Like Dahlia does definitely care to like a decent degree, but is also like very more clearly concerned with Dahlia, with Angela becoming a star and, again, getting to live her dreams through her. And that comes across very well in Brooke's performance, I felt.
She has learned to control those parts of herself and be more hands-off with Angela. Like, let her live on her own, for example. Respecting boundaries more.
I can tell Dahlia has probably learned to respect Angela's boundaries more, but that tension is still there clearly, and it is sort of interesting seeing their relationship through the show with that in mind.
It's messy and complicated and doesn't stop being messy and complicated. So.
But the key indication of how you reacted to this character is, did you feel bad when she died?
A little bad, yes. I mean, I did think she had a pretty bad chemistry with the other characters, and again, while her parenting was not particularly the greatest, you could tell that she did. No. She did clearly care about Angela to some degree, but the final conversation they had right before she passed out, not a great look.
Mm-hmm. No, that was not a good note to go out on.
I can't relate to the situation, but I can empathize with Angela's emotions in that moment.
Yeah, because if you find out that the person you thought was your parent all your life isn't biologically related to you, if you grew up with them living as your parent, that's going to be the exact same reaction when they die.
Yes. Yeah.
But I agree that Brooke's performance is it walks that fine balance of having the character be kind of like an aging Broadway star, that very diva-esque performance, without demonizing the character because of their gender. Like, the character is not supposed to be likable because of what they do, but you don't dislike them just because they're not feminine. I don't feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a specific thing there.
Like that could have been the butt of the joke. Like the scenes during the American Idol show where Gus and Dahlia like keep having to sit next to each other, and they're kind of battling against each other with quips. But it's all quips about their respective proteges. It has nothing to do with how the other ones look or how they're not attractive.
Yeah, no one resorts to ad hominem or your mom jokes in that scenario. we have a bit more maturity there, but which is a weird thing to say about those two in particular.
It is very fun watching them eventually be bickering parents. It's very amusing.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, Jason Barnocha as Gus. Actually, you know what? Before we get to Gus, we should talk about Ronnie.
Yeah, let's.
Don't
I don't know about you.
Sleep
I don't have
on
as many
Roddy.
notes.
Don't sleep on Roddy, the roadie. He's like the golden pig, the golden goose. Everything that they need, Roddy's got them covered.
Yes, it's amazing because, again, as I mentioned before, he's kind of a dork and he does suck, but at the same time, he's also the person who gets a lot of things done for them.
Oh, he's not. I mean, he's a dork, but he's not like Brief from Penny and Stocking. He's actually competent at what he does.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because he's not explicitly trying to get in their pants or anything, but he does. He does occasionally make comments like, "Oh, are they saying things about me?" He is at least partially after something, but
he does.
But he's not particularly obnoxious about it.
Yeah. He does occasionally brag about being their first fan, and I think that's kind of the extent of it.
Sure. Yeah. Like he's. I mean, I think in a circle of professionals, there's a couple of friends or roadies who, they're never going to be musicians or artists or actors. So they're just kind of happy to watch other people's success, and they're happy to help in whatever way they can. And I feel like that's what roadies' benefits are.
Other than being like
guy.
a mixer and music producer.
Yeah. That's a good point. I keep forgetting that, though. I'm sorry. Like, they mentioned that he's not a trader. He was already on Erdogan's, he was working for him already. And I forget. Oh, yeah, he's technically a musician, too.
He has a day job. He's decently well off at it, too.
Yeah. He has a day job. He has actual connections, which is, surprising, but he has them.
Which is more than we can say about Gus.
Yeah, let's talk about Gus. I don't even know what was the name of the band that he was a part of? I should have written it down, but I didn't.
I don't remember. I don't remember either. I just remember very clearly washed up former musician.
It's not.
Producer, and here we are.
Yeah, it's not the Lazy Janitors, but that is the band name that came into mind.
It was something similar to that, I think.
Mm-hmm. But I think that this character is a lot of fun to have around because I never quite got a sense of, is he actually good at what he does? It's like he's got connections just because he's been around the industry for a while, but he's never the one who gets them their first gig or helps them get their contract or almost anything. He doesn't help them make a good music video. That plan has to be scrapped. But they just keep him around because
he's fun.
He lost their first paycheck on dogs.
Yeah.
The damn dogs just wouldn't run.
I do very much appreciate the joke early on where, where he's trying all these tricks to, get Carole and Tuesday on a fast track, and he assumes he can do it because, he's got connections, but he also has to take it into account how the industry has changed. So, his inability to roll with times is just kind of, constantly working against him while Ronnie is usually the one who is like actually getting things done for Carole and Tuesday.
It feels like arguably they could have just gone the slow and steady route that they dismissed early on, and things would have worked out just fine. Of just slowly building up word of mouth by doing gigs.
And I would have appreciated that, honestly. The qualm I have, and I only realized this after finishing the show, is that I expected more of what Beck Mongolian Chop Squad did really well, which was, that slow build of not just popularity, but also skill. In this show, Carole and Tuesday are basically goddesses in music already. They don't need to get any better. But in this show, that's what they were going for. They were going for, let's have them be good already, and early on start building that clout.
Yeah. They can very easily just improv new music. They're not spending a lot of time with writer's block or practicing.
I mean,
in the first half.
To be fair, we do see like montages of them like coming up with songs. We don't spend a lot of time like after watching them practice. It mostly happens like in off-screen montages and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's not like they aren't doing anything. It's just we don't see a lot of the process in particular, I guess.
We spend way more time with like Gus, like trying to work their way into the system, because Watanabe and Hiro have commentary about the music industry and the nonsense you have to go through, and by golly, we're gonna show you how bad it is.
We have bigger fish to fry. We can't be waiting around for them to get a contract in episode 20.
But I would have appreciated that.
No, I agree with you, Noah, that Beck was very fresh in my mind, and I prefer that approach. But this wanted to do some fun things with the American Idol story, and wanted to do the bigger commentary where you kind of need to be charting to tell these stories.
Right.
So it's a function of the story they wanted to tell.
Yeah. And again, to credit to Jason, his delivery of larger set guy who's still got a lot of enthusiasm definitely shines through. And I know that Megan's brought this up before, that sometimes dubs will do the stupid thing of fat character must have fat sounding voice like this. And they didn't go that route with Jason. They made him sound, or with Gus, they made Jason give him a very believable, slightly older, washed up rock star kind of vibe, who's still a good person. He's not trying to skim money off of Carole and Tuesday for himself. He legitimately stops drinking and helps them get to where they need to be.
Yeah. He's using that same voice when he's young and skinny.
I thought that was pretty amusing.
God, it's such a contrast. So before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, I think like the one part where he's like showing why he's a good manager is when he turns down the contract with Catherine and the Brightest record label because he's been down this road before and he's not going to make those same mistakes.
Admittedly, we don't know why he's doing that at the time, so it does. So at the time, it seems like a very odd decision, but once we get the forward story, it's like, okay, yeah, this makes perfect sense now.
It feels arrogant in a way that's consistent with his character to that point, but in retrospect, there's deeper reasons to it, and he is looking out for the girls in that way. So I appreciate that.
He never like pushes them to change their sound or their style exactly. Like I was trying to think, like even in those early episodes, he pushes them to take part in some events that give them more exposure, but he never says, wear this, sing about this, change your persona, be more active on Instagram. Like, he basically lets them be who they are.
Not a lot of music managers will do that, so he's good people.
Yeah, Jason, Gus is good people.
Yeah. Not bad for a guy that's introduced with a Shining reference.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
The face through the door.
Just all the folds of skin in his face trying to squeeze through that crack.
The animators were definitely having fun with him because every time he's moving around, there's a lot to animate, and they keep them in proportion really well compared to like some of the slimmer, less husky characters. There's a lot more to animate on Gus, and it's fun to watch.
One last bit of the performance I want to highlight because it's something I do just deeply appreciate is that he also does some of the narration for the show, like he does the opening narration we see in every episode, and some of the other narration. And I appreciate it. Like, at the beginning, you aren't sure if it's just, like, general narration or it's actually supposed to be Gus. And then we learned that it actually is Gus, which is an amusing contrast because he does, like, sound very serious when he's doing the narration. And then sometimes he'll, like, slip back into character and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, wait, that's me? From the narrator's chair?
Yeah, like, one of your characters will quip off of his narration, like, is that really how it happened? Which, by the way, you will not notice that if you let Netflix skip the opening, because not only will it skip the ending credits, the opening credits of the next episode, it will also skip that part of the narration as well. It'll just go straight to the next episode's start.
Yeah.
I appreciate a skip recap feature, but you do miss some stuff like that.
Yeah. I missed the amazing ending credit song the first couple episodes because I couldn't skip the do not skip credits button fast enough.
As a shame, that's a good song.
That's my favorite song. I've listened to that nonstop since we started planning this episode.
Hold me now.
Hold me now, I'm trying to be fulfilled. This is what my heart's been waiting for.
Yeah. That one is a bop where it's very easily a earworm. I like it.
Yeah. Yep. And with that, it's time to finally talk about our main characters. So,
yay!
Angela.
So for our last three characters, we have Carole Stanley, Tuesday Simmons, and Angela Carpenter. So Carole is a refugee from Earth who's lived on the streets of Mars mostly on her own. Tuesday is a sheltered rich girl who decides to run away from home to achieve her dream of being a musician and is immediately taken in by Carole singing after hearing her perform on a bridge. And Angela is a former child actor and model who decides to step into the world of professional singing and wants to one-up Carole and Tuesday.
And surprisingly is not villainized as much as you may expect. As Jackson was kind of alluding to, it kind of feels like she's the star of the show.
Oh yeah, especially in the second half.
It's a running B plot throughout where we're constantly flipping back to Angela to see what she's up to. And it often has nothing to do with Carole and Tuesday.
Which is good, because it shows an entirely different side of the music industry that we don't get from Carole and Tuesday.
Yep. So playing these characters, Carole is played by Jeannie Torado, Tuesday is played by Brianna Knickerbocker, and Angela is played by Ryan Bartley. Jeannie Torado has played such characters as Lutz in A Sense of a Bookworm, Fun in Black Clover, and Zera in Fairy Tale Zero, and Carolina Clays in My Next Life as a Villainess, all Roads Lead to Doom. Brianna Knickerbocker has played such characters as Aki in Anahana, Macy Ballinger in Burn the Witch, Ramen ReZero, and Chisaki Hiradara in Along the Sea. And then Ryan Bartley has played such characters as Rem in ReZero, Mia in To Your Eternity, Misa Nishimori and Yusa Nishimori in Charlotte, Andrew's favorite show, and Rei Ayanami in the Kara dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
But which one?
I literally just said the Kara dub.
The Kara.
But
okay.
which
I thought you said current, and I was like, there are many current dubs.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought you said current too, so I was like...
Okay, I was going to say VSI, but, okay, well, VSI, Kara, just... Any term other than Netflix one, because I don't feel it's very accurate.
Yeah, we need better. I'm sorry, we need uniform terminologies to describe which dub of Evangelion we're referencing.
Letter indexed, color coded.
Yeah. Basically, you need to know who to blame for stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The entire point of doing this podcast is to identify who to blame for stuff.
Yeah. His name is Andrew. Yes.
You're not wrong. What was I gonna say? So yeah, this is the three mains of the show, and I'll just be straightforward. Jeannie and Brina do a good job because Carole and Tuesday do not have nearly as much personality as Angela does. The show wanted the two of them to have their own kind of distinct quirks that separate them, but they're not really that dynamic. Whereas Angela is volatile and aiming to please everyone around her, but also to make a name for herself. And Ryan gets to have a ton of fun with that kind of personality. So I don't have a ton of notes for Jeannie and Brianna because, again, most of the standout acting performances I felt went to Angela's character, and that's just what stuck out more. To the point that, yeah, I messaged these guys saying, I feel like I'm connecting with Angela's story a whole lot more, just because she's got way more angst and personality than Carole and Tuesday.
I agree. He definitely has a lot more going on, but I do like Carole and Tuesday a lot. They're good kids.
Yeah. The title of the show is Angie and Tao. At least I thought it was.
But I do think Jeannie and Bria's performances have a very good sense of chemistry. Tuesday being, being kind of, the rich girl who's like a little out of depth and maybe doesn't like totally understand the way of things, which I thought came across in Bria's performance very well. Contrasted with Carole, who's like, maybe a little more down to earth and kind of a lot more casual about things, which is an aspect of Jeannie's performance I liked a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was fun. It was fun kind of seeing those dynamics bounce off each other.
I really do like their energy, especially like Jeannie's got this homegirl energy going on with her, where she's getting streetwise with people and such things, and I like how her nickname for Tuesday is Twos, which, checking on the Japanese title, is reveals that Japan pronounces it with the British way, with CH out front, which was a fun thing to discover.
Shoot. Oh, okay.
Tuesday. Or like they don't have a TU sound, so so that's what they're substituting in there.
Interesting.
Brianna is like very out of her depth kind of expression. She was where I noticed that the voice matching against the singing voices was out of step a little bit. Like she feels kind of like a different character while singing, and I'm not necessarily seeing where that's coming from in Brianna's performance and Tuesday's day-to-day life in there. But I do appreciate like the energy to it, the character design to it. I like a character with freckles, for example.
I do also appreciate that while, she's not particularly dramatic about it. I do like how we kind of gradually learn more about Carole's situation over the course of the show, and how she grew up in a refugee camp, didn't really grow up with a whole lot of family, and just kind of mostly had to kind of make her own way in the world. Throughout her life, and that comes across in Jeannie's performance, and I appreciate that. You get the sense like she's not, particularly bitter about her circumstances or anything, and it just kind of, come to terms with her life being what it is, and that it does come across pretty well in her tone, I think, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, the arc of of the whole story is not her like learning to cope with her hardships. It's that yeah, she's put that behind her, and now she's got a dream to make music. And yeah, that's definitely interesting. It does feel like the more tragic elements about being a refugee, having no family, the things that kind of tie into the pro-immigrant subplots don't really define her character, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like she doesn't feel so compelled to fight for immigrants' rights, even though she's a refugee herself. She only really gets involved in it because she has a friend who was deported due to this bonkers policy being proposed.
Yeah. I was getting the same vibe from Tuesday as well, of Kyle, the reporter, had to coax out of her, you know, your friend is at risk of being deported if your mom's policy passes. And that's when she's like, yeah, that would be bad, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
She hasn't really put two and two together quite yet, so that gets them to start thinking about those things.
But it makes sense that it only comes into play near the end of the show, because not to disparage people who try to do multiple things in a story, but the pro-immigrant stuff and the music stuff don't really connect to each other. They try to force a connection near the end by saying that we're singing because we're being silenced, because freedom to speech is being taken away. And we're watching this like, no, it's not freedom of speech that's being silenced. It's people from outside of Mars who are literally being deported. That's not the same as a musician not being able to sing a song.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I mean, all my notes on the
Okay,
show are
okay,
less
I mean,
about the
okay,
dumb.
I mean, to play a bit of devil's advocate, I mean, it was
Sure.
it was at least noted, like, during the Holy Rest with Ezekiel that he had been on Mars illegally for a very long time,
Yeah.
and was very specifically not targeted for deportation until he started thinking about those circumstances. So in a sense that was kind of about censorship, even if you know that's not the very specific point there.
Yeah, the censorship against some policies, not
Yes.
all of us here. Like, all the artists singing "We Are the World" are not in danger.
All those artists are not. Yeah, like, obviously not all of those artists are in danger of being deported or anything. So,
And what is it? What is it at the end of the show that actually does cause Valerie to change her mind? Is it the song?
No, it's not the power of music that's saving the day here.
No, the song does jack all for the problem.
It's just a nice thing to go over the credits as everybody reckons with their moms.
I guess it was just supposed to be like some form of protest, which is, appreciated, even if it doesn't particularly solve the problem.
Yeah, it's like
I mean, it would be one thing if it was like explicitly shown to 100% solve everything, but it doesn't. It's just supposed to, it's supposed to be, in a sense, get you thinking about the problem in a sense, which, again, show could have maybe handled that a little better, but I appreciate the effort.
I mean, I almost wonder if I would have appreciated what you were kind of describing of, what if the song did make everyone solve all the problems? It's like, everyone was racist, and then they heard the song, and they suddenly weren't racist anymore, and it was rainbows and sunshine everywhere. Like, that's unrealistic, but that's at least entertaining.
I was entertained at, like, the cops showing up to try to stop them from singing. That was kind of amusing.
That was kind of funny. It's like, oh no, the thought police are here.
Not mice. Oh god, they're biker mice from Mars. Oh god.
No, they're not trying to shut down free speech. They're just members of Disney here for the copyright police. That's why they're called mice.
I knew we gave him too much power.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, the performances on all three of these actresses kind of have to carry the heart of the show, and because Brianna and Jeannie sound distinct from each other, you know, like you're not going to confuse the two of them if you're not watching who's speaking on screen. Their contrast works off each other very well, and it fits with the whole singer-songwriter, Simon and Garfunkel, Lennon McCartney kind of dynamic that the show is clearly going for.
Yeah.
It's not what I would have done myself, but it's definitely fitting for what Watanabe was going for.
I do appreciate the jam sessions and the, filling each other out and getting to know each other through music. Like that scene in the first episode where they're composing The Loneliest Girl, and Brianna's got that big oversized guitar that she's trying to get a hold of. It's touches like that that I do appreciate. But and before I forget, I wanted to make a point of I appreciate Brianna and Tuesday getting more outspoken as the show goes on, goofing off a lot more, doing bad accents.
That was pretty fun. And then going back around to Ryan's performance as Angela. Again, divorcing it from the casting problems. I did like this performance a lot. I would say, I'd even say on an acting front, it was probably one of my favorite performances in the dub. I thought it was pretty well acted, especially during the back half of the show where Angela is suddenly going through a lot because, everything happens to her all at once. She's starting to have her in a career. Her mom's suddenly in the hospital and then dies. And then on top of that, she finds out. Turns out she is a designer baby, which is definitely not a plot point I would expect from this show.
Oh, wait, she doesn't learn that until the last episode, right? Like, it's Tao who tells her she's a designer baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but she does find out that she's adopted.
Yeah.
That throws her for a loop, as well as her manager getting arrested, which that's a lot for a 13-year-old to handle.
13, isn't she? I don't know ages in the show.
Okay. I mean, I know Carole and Tuesday were stated to be 17 at the beginning of the show, and I'm guessing she's supposed to be around her age, so yeah, 17, I think.
Well, I could be misremembering, but I remember near the beginning of the show, she was explaining that she was a child star, and that her mom wanted her to avoid the pitfalls of child actresses being forgotten by pivoting over to music. Yeah. I think what I might be I'm misremembering is that the mom herself was also a child star, and that she said that by 13 she was at the top of the world, and then a few years later everyone forgot her.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I think she went child star into model into singer. So in those teenage years she was doing modeling.
Gotcha. That makes a lot more sense. Either way, still a lot for a teenager to handle.
Yeah.
I suspect, when things are going bad, we know because she starts doing a lot of painkillers and over-the-counter medication. And I suspect that wasn't the first time that's happened. I suspect that that's a bad habit that she returned to. A previous coping mechanism. And
I didn't really make the connection until that scene, but I feel like that's why Flora was also introduced, because we see a very similar, her grabbing a handful of pills to deal with her anxiety, which kind of prepared us for seeing the same thing happen to Angela just a couple episodes later.
Angela's really great and really compelling, from the get-go of just the step of, you want me to be your puppet? I'll do it. I don't care if you use me, as long as I get what I want from this transaction, which is to sing and be a star. She will be the perfect puppet. Her real only hang-up is she's real worried about being replaced quite often. So long as she stays unique and stays useful, to other people. She's all good. And
Now, thankfully, though, of course, that's not going to happen in our world. Like, there's no way that you can replace an actress with, I don't know, like a 3D version of yourself. That would never happen in movies nowadays, ever.
A perfect AI copy of them, for example.
No, don't worry. That's silly. That's technology we'll never see in our lifetime.
Okay, no, I probably can't even hum the copyright to that song. Disney will come after us.
Yes, they will.
We've been dunking a lot on the mouse this episode. Yeah. No, I do appreciate, speaking of the perfect AI replacement, that when that comes into the picture, it's that same Angela that we saw at the beginning of the show, of just this obnoxious and narcissistic character, compared to the one that's fallen apart a little bit at the seams.
Mm-hmm. Because that's all AI can do, is it can only mimic the personality that it was programmed for at the time. Yeah. It does not know how to evolve to match the personality that a person will become in the future.
Yeah. And Ryan's doing a great job of making those two distinct for that short scene.
And again, from the side, I will also say that again, like, I love Carole and Tuesday, they're very good girls, but pretty much all of Angela's songs were better, frankly.
This is also true.
That was clearly
like, there's a reason she won the Grammys.
Who still cares about a Grammy in whatever future year this takes place in?
Yeah.
I asked you.
And
that's where my suspension of disbelief just stops.
And they somehow made the Grammy scene great, brave, and progressive for letting those performances carry on.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow.
I mean, the Grammys have a long history of not letting controversy stop performers from performing on stage.
Little bit of. I mean, it was nice they let her perform given everything that was going on with at the time, but at the same time, she also probably shouldn't have performed there. What happened?
Now, in that scene, the scene where she's won Artist of the Year and she's got a really broken personality, are we sure that performance was the Japanese and that wasn't Ryan singing?
I'm pretty sure that was the Japanese singer, Lisa.
Okay, I mean that would make sense. Just the way that the music was recorded.
I mean, I will say that was very good, like, music-based acting.
Yeah. The not off key, but like a very defeated and clearly not your A game performance.
Mm-hmm.
So
and still somehow one of the best numbers in the show.
It does get to you if you care about Angela.
You can slip in a little breaking down into the master.
Mm-hmm. She should have totally gotten a chance to nut stop that stalker guy. That would have made everything better.
Clearly.
Oh, I think that's all the notes I've got.
I guess we're good to move into final thoughts.
Final thoughts, woo!
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to. I'm glad I got to revisit this show. I liked it a lot when I finally got to watch it in 2019 when it was freed from Netflix sale, and like getting to watch it again. It's simply not a perfect show by any means. The American Idol plot is like maybe a little too long, and like there are a couple of points about the immigration stuff that could have been handled better, I feel, but. But on the whole, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable show, and given the current the state of the U.S. at the time and the state the U.S. is still in, I appreciate a show like this taking the time to call out terrible policies and be completely unsubtle about that. It is always nice when shows just drop any pretense and are just like we're talking about here. It's very
Man,
much appreciated.
Man, when did anime start getting so political? I mean, back in my day, we had non-political anime like Gundam, and there was no politics in it at all. What's this nonsense?
Yeah,
Certainly no politics in the Astro Boy anime back in 1963.
Tezuka was totally apolitical. Wasn't making commentary at all.
yeah. As for the dub, again, I have my problems with some of the casting here, and I do think it is a mark against the dub that it, frankly, should not have had to begin with. But divorced from that, I do think it is at least a solid sounding dub. It is, but it is at least important to note that if you want to watch it in English, you should at least be aware of that particular caveat because again, it is a thing that should probably not have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But on the whole, this is a show I would. This is a show I would probably. This is a show I would definitely recommend watching. It's a pretty good time, a pretty fun show about music. Has some solid, if not perfect, social commentary. It's a pretty good time.
Yeah, I like that this show exists. We have dropped the phrase "devil's advocate" no less than 3 times this episode, which tells you just like how kind of like the ideas being discussed here are important to have, or these discussions are important to have about these ideas. It's thought-provoking in ways that are interesting because it's kind of cliche and straightforward in its message. In a way I appreciate. The voice acting and script and casting. I was enjoying my time throughout this show. Enjoying the energy to it, having a lot of fun with it, getting invested in Angela's story in particular. I think, I'm glad I put this back on the watch list to come back to later, even if like a American Idol parody wasn't what I was into at the time. So, yeah.
I'm probably going to be the most least complimentary of this group here. I am also glad that I got a chance to watch this for this episode, because this was also on my to-watch list for a while. And from the get-go, it seemed like it had all the elements that I would enjoy, but I really do feel like the show was the victim of having a lot of ideas that didn't all mesh with each other, and maybe you should have held off on some of them for a different series. It's just something that happens sometimes when creators get a lot of freedom to do their own projects, and they want to talk about everything, and you don't have to talk about everything in your production. You can curate a little bit more. That being said, the elements that work really well, that being the very righteous anger at the system displayed in the last half of it, the goofier episodes, which we didn't really talk about, like the music video they tried to make, or just the more silly episodic episodes from the first half of it, are enjoyable to watch. And the music is, again, very good when it is good. Some of it's just kind of runs right through you, is just kind of pleasant to listen to, but not something you're going to remember. But the bops or the rap that Ezekiel puts on are really stand out. So I can't fault audio-wise a show that has that element to it. And the reason I'm talking about the show and the music more is because all the actors here did exactly what they needed to do. There's no funny quirks or goofy edges that were added to ramp up any part of the show, really. This is a very good example of how to localize something for an English-speaking audience. So seamless that you barely even noticed that there was a Japanese to begin with. And that, ideally, is what all good dubs should accomplish.
I think this one also had an easy layup of the original production wanted it to have this kind of appeal and English presentation.
Oh, certainly. There's Watanabe had gone on record as saying that the source for this show was he wanted people to appreciate Western music more, which, surprise, the guy who made a show called Cowboy Bebop has an appreciation for Western music.
You know what happened? You know what's going to happen when you pass Watanabe the aux cord.
I'm scared to ask.
Well, you're gonna get a soundtrack like this, basically.
That's true. So, and now I have that goddamn ending song stuck in my head. So thank you for that, Jet. And Jackson. Actually, I forget who recommended this episode for our birthday episode.
So it was my idea to make a birthday episode, and this was Jet's suggestion.
Right.
Yeah, we threw around a few, and I think Carole and Tuesday was the one I decided, like, you know what, I've been wanting to talk about this show for a while, because I did like it, but, you know, I also acknowledge, you know, it would be at least a little awkward to talk about. Yeah. But I'm glad we got to do it, and I'm glad I got to do it with you guys. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same here. So, where can the fine folks listen to and watch Carole and Tuesday on their own?
Currently, it is only available on Netflix, so yeah, I gotta pony up for that. Or rub off someone's account while you can still do that before Netflix takes that away.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is another one of those unfortunate instances of a series, streaming only, no home media release in sight in Region 1.
I was like doing a couple of panels at Otakon about it, so seemed like they might have it, but I guess they don't. So yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But enough about that. The important people.
Yeah. So that's where you can watch Carole and Tuesday. But if you care about anything we do, we are the Dumb Talk Podcast. You can find us on the Twitters, Instagram, Tumblr is eternally dead in the water, just not always. We have new episodes going up every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support us, you can do it through a one-time donation on our Ko-fi, or you can be one of our lovely Patreons. And before we close tonight, I'd like to give a shout out to our patrons. In the $5 tier, we've got Baggins, Mom and Dad, Michelle Travis, Nico Robin, but we Yowie Hands, Victor Maribota. And in the $10 tier, we've got Anthony Brown, Corey Wetzicow, Crimson Akinda, Jacob Wilson, Jordan Hawkins, Mercer Lenti, and Taco Anthony. Thanks for your support, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Mm-hmm. We couldn't continue to do this without your amazing support.
Okay, so is there anything you guys would like to plug?
Yeah, I'll go first then. I'm Jackson, 9Claw Tiger over on Twitter. I have various editing projects that I have not touched in many years, but I also do Twitch streams for the podcast every Monday. Right now, I am playing Fire Emblem, the Echoes Shadows over Valencia games, which was on 3DS and one of the first ones with full voice acting. So that's real fun. Or you can come over on Tuesdays and watch me and Amon play Valhalla and show off our bad voice acting.
Cool. Noah?
You can follow me on Twitter at NoahClue. I have all the discussions about animation from around the world because that is where the cool people are discussing things. Or if you're not really into following people for animation discussions, just follow me because I post pictures of my kids and our puppy. The things the internet was really made for. Pictures of their cute kids and their pets. So, yeah.
Those are like nice things to have. So, as for me, I'm Chet. You can find me on Twitter at DefineNega. I will usually be talking about uh, animation, films, whatever is going on in the world, I guess. You can also find me on other podcasts, Podcast O&A, where I will usually be talking about anime news alongside fellow Dub Talk host Andrew, and I also gotten back on Twitch streams. On
Yes.
Thursdays, I'm playing Astral Chain, so you can come watch me play that, I guess.
Is it more anime nonsense? It looks like anime nonsense.
Yeah, it is a. Yeah, it's from Platinum Games, so it's got a little bit of that Bayonetta flair, but more sci-fi.
Excellent.
So, yeah, that more or less wraps us up for tonight. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, sing your song. Put your voice out there. Tell people what your soul is screaming out, even if it's fucking bullshit.
Remember to row, fight the power.
So, yeah, that more or less wraps us up. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, we'll talk on, friends.
Aloha.
Bye.